Yo bro, imagine, life hits a dead end even before you turn 30. Our Ryoichi just lost his father and the family electronics store officially closes its doors. He stands and stares at his father's shrine, feeling complete despair because he couldn't keep the dream alive. Now he is just another unemployed guy in a miserable economy. He literally bows to someone in a suit for a job and gets rejected like a loser. No one calls him back and his social life is a total desert. His phone is basically just a paperweight because that number is no longer in use. He stares at the low ceiling and thinks about how his existence became so mediocre. I lost everything, he thinks, lying in his cluttered room. He decides to kill time by reading online novels and accidentally clicks on a suspicious banner. A message appears on the screen, "Do you want to go to another world?" He thinks he already has 0 delays in his schedule, so why not? And then the site starts bombarding him with detailed questions about fantasy cliches like ogres and elves. In this survey, there are over 100 questions, and he already feels how it grinds him down. Finally, he presses the send button. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. A man named Kami Shurahito is standing at the doorstep. The man looks like a corporate villain and hands him a professional business card. Ryoichi asks if he is a salesman. The guy tells him that he has come to confirm his transfer to another world immediately. He didn't even have time to blink. They are teleported right into the very heart of a huge forest. "This is the world of Starlia," the man says with a calm smile. "There really are monsters here like this ugly slimy thing." The slime tries to draw aggro onto itself, but the guy in the suit simply blasts it apart with a magical blast. He tells Ryoichi that magic is simple and offers to give him a lesson masterclass. Our guy really learns a spell called Magic Hole on his very first try. The next day they sit down for a real strategic meeting. Ryoichi realizes this is a one-way trip and he can no longer return to Earth. If he refuses the deal, this guy will simply erase the entire event from his memory. But wait, there's a cheat catalog involved. He chooses 4 class abilities, pious ones, to start his new life. He is capable of mastering legendary techniques without any usual training. There are even god-managed gifts in the inventory. It seems the supreme god is literally tying tools for the chosen ones. The man in the suit tells him to choose his perks and promises to return in 3 days. Ryoichi looks back at his old shop one last time. He visits his old school and local shrines to silently say goodbye. He grabs the last bowl of ramen at his favorite place. The shop owner recognizes him and says, "Long time no see, elder brother." The old man gives him general advice, how to take the next step in life. While Ryoichi chews free gyoza, he suddenly realizes life is shorter than he thought. He walks through the shining city streets, absorbing the atmosphere. This is the last farewell to his former reality. He stands on a hill above the city, ready for change. Then the horizon is sharply pierced by a flash of colossal light. He signed the contract. God tells him that he has no specific mission, so he can just live as he wants. Ryoichi chooses production-type abilities because he truly understands how tools work. He decides to make his collection unique. He falls into a new world and immediately encounters several younger wolves. He turns on his god class appraisal and realizes, a little more and he will collapse if he is not careful. Pack rushes at him like an arrow without any hesitation. One wolf actually bites into his shoulder, a complete bloody feast. "I will not die," he shouts and activates his magic. He blasts the wolves in one salvo and begins to catch the rhythm of the battle. His god-class body instantly starts to heal these deep wounds. He finishes off the leader with a powerful kick to the head. He levels up and his physical stats immediately increase. He takes the loot and checks it against the universal map. He is right outside the door of a place called East Village. At the gate, a guard stops him and demands documents. Ryoichi has none, so he is forced to pay 3 silver coins to enter. Fortunately, all his Japanese assets were converted into local currency, amounting to 10 million yen. That's a huge pile of silver coins. He enters the village and the locals stare, covered in wolf's blood. He needs to find an inn and settle in before he attracts even more attention. A cute girl named Marie meets him at the inn and starts panicking because of his clothes. He speaks this language perfectly but realizes he still can't write a script. He takes a new set of work clothes out of the item box. The family at the inn is stunned by his skill in storing items at a high-tier level. Marie thinks his modern detergent smells rare and expensive. He recalls his other gifts, for example, a container that can extract items from the earth. He even has a multiplication box synchronized with a huge warehouse full of supplies. This production build already looks completely broken. To obtain an official ID, he needs to join the guild. He is heading to the Carpenter Guild to register. The secretary gives him a ticket for the exam for 1 gold coin. She warns him the pass rate is only 40. The bald overseer named Gio mocks his thin arms and calls him a loser. In the first test, he needs to split a log with a huge axe. The axe is incredibly heavy and hard to lift. He decides to use the weight to his advantage and without hesitation swings it straight down. He perfectly splits the log, shocking the masters. For the second test, he has to carve the log with precision. It is slow work with a single basic chisel. He asks if he can use his own tools for the work. He activates his item box. The crowd erupts with excitement. He pulls out a modern electric drill. He still remembers how his father gave him his first drill many years ago. The roar of the drill drives everyone in the guild crazy. The guildmaster watches, intently struck by this magical weapon. Ryoichi passes the test in a record short time. The master reveals the exam was actually a disguised magical trial. Most people use physical enhancement magic, but Ryoichi applied pure technology. The axe he used before was actually a gift from the gods, a present from the god of the tree. Guildmaster Kokus hands him his official guild card. Now he is officially a team member. Gio grabs him and says he will take care of him in the workshop. They throw a huge welcome party and start drinking in one gulp. Ryoichi even beats the master in arm wrestling, although they are both drunk. He is finally praised for his skill by people who respect him. He knows choosing Starlia for his life is the right step. While he enjoys his new home, God says that in this world death is always nearby. Above the clouds at the very height, a mysterious girl cries and begs for help. She is in the mines. In despair, she needs someone to save her sister. Ryoichi hones his logging skills with the team. Master Gio is impressed by how quickly our guy is leveling up. Gio orders them to watch how a professional works while he prepares a heavy strike. Instead of letting the tree crush everything around, a huge stone hand catches it. He explains that this is earth magic, to soften the blow and land safely. Gio admits that he is not a teacher and tells Ryoichi to look for a magic book. He examines the local shop run by a cute cat girl. He pulls out a suspicious-looking book with chapters on the most advanced dark magic. Ryoichi is bursting with impatience to find such rare loot in a backwater shop in the middle of nowhere. At the very end, he begins training with basic wind magic. After a small mishap, he decides to try practicing all the attributes. Even during breaks, he is sweating profusely to master fire magic. He wants to become self-sufficient and strong as soon as possible. He rushes, running through the forest at speeds that should not be possible. This 10x growth rate for his agility stats is just unrealistically broken. He treats the pack of wolf mobs as if they were trash. His movements are so light, as if he is playing on a map with low gravity. Gio says the true test of courage is to visit the shrine of the giant soldiers. He approaches the entrance, and there he is greeted by giant stone sentinels. Ryoichi enters the ruins to find out what all the fuss is about. He finds even more statues guarding the center of the sanctuary. On the stone monument, the place of testing magical armor control is mentioned. Everything here is so old that it figuratively no longer works, at least not properly. Suddenly he hears a strange noise. It comes from under the floor. He finds a disconnected electrical circuit and decides to fix it using his previous knowledge from the past world. Our guy starts working as if he wants to win a master's competition. The flow returns and the main console lights up. Secret stairs open and call him into the darkness. He lowers his head and hears something huge rustling and moving in the shadows. He casts a fire spell to provide light and sees a giant golem looking down at him from above. This absolute monster towers over him, and in its hands is a huge sword. The baddie waves and Ryoichi must move or he will be pinned to death. He barely manages to dodge as the blade shatters against the stone floor. When the exit is blocked, he starts firing rapid-fire magic nonstop. He unleashes a scatter attack to find a vulnerability. The golem is completely unharmed and continues step by step through the flames. It responds with a stomping kick, one that almost turns Ryoichi into paste. He refuses to give up and jumps back in for another round. Even his physical attacks do no damage to this tank. It turns out he has already died twice and is barely holding on. He is still in the game using his god-class clone jutsu. Each new clone is weaker than the previous one, so its time is running out. The evaluation shows this level 38 beast has magical nullification. He decides to put everything on the line because of that forbidden dark book of magic. He begins to chant a spell to summon the power of the abyss. A swarm of skulls and dark energy explodes from his hands. The explosion tears a huge hole right through the middle of the glance. The giant soldier finally collapses and crumbles into a pile of ruins. He thinks he has won, but then he starts coughing up blood. And the price for using that dark magic is simply incredibly cruel. The screen flashes and shows a cute AI girl. She is just starting initialization. Ryoichi goes off the rails. She looks too high-tech for this world. She begins setting up the system for ordinary household use. She completes the registration and names him the new administrator. Suddenly, he is surrounded from all sides by a whole squad of giant soldiers. Our guy already thinks that he will soon be thrown back into the lobby. The AI drops security and the golems treat him as the boss. She analyzes his condition and recommends using a hidden skill. He activates the God-class adaptation to neutralize the dark magic curse. The pain finally recedes and he thanks her for that saving surge. She reveals this sanctuary was actually a hangar for magical vehicles. He realizes that she has been alone all this time, and he feels pain for her. Ryoichi promises to return so she will no longer be lonely. When he leaves the room, the AI girl gives him a genuine, sincere smile. He passes through the main door to look at the new trophies. He freezes in place as soon as he sees what's inside. This is a gigantic high-tech magical armored transport vehicle. This absolute beast is already ready to dominate the next map. Ryoichi approaches the place on a literally gigantic robot that he found near the temple. Our guys here read the ancient instruction as if it were a regular tutorial. Gio says he has it for himself after all, only he has the craftsman's intuition to fix it. He immediately sets off to work and repairs the equipment, demonstrating serious mechanical skill. Mari appears together with her friend Nasir, and he thinks the mech looks like a gigantic steel spider. Nasir runs a grocery store and was worried that Ryoichi would work on the robot all night. In fact, they came to invite the team on a journey to Door Village. Nasir has already outlined the party formation for a 4-month rotation cycle. The brothers fully sympathize and jump at the chance to protect some pretty women on the road. 4 days later, the squad officially set off through the forest. A crowd of trash monsters suddenly ambushes the squad before they even manage to set up camp. Geo charges fly into the tank while the rear line prepares to draw attention. Marie tries to help with the pan, but these monsters clearly overpower her. Ryoichi bursts in and thrusts a spear straight into the plant monster to protect her. Here and beyond, everything crawls. Giant rabbits and even deer sneak from the shadows, tightening the ring. Our guy decides to quickly end the encounter, unleashes a massive burst of lightning magic. The entire mafia instantly gets completely fried, and the brothers are left wondering how he became a top-level mage. He explains that the victory over the golem actually gave him an incredible level jump. Not to be outdone, Master Geo unleashes heavy earth magic and finishes everything else. Thanks to Ryoichi's item box, they can finally relax and eat properly in the camp. And the standard rations are complete nonsense, so the guy decides to cook. He grabs some Caesar dressing from the inventory and assembles an exquisite salad. The girls take one bite and their heads are surprisingly twisted by the taste. Even Master Geo, who cannot stand vegetables, devours the salad as if he were a hungry beast. Nasir realizes that this outfit is a real goldmine and wants to sell it immediately. She literally sniffs out profit, while Ryoichi only wants to keep calm. Finally, they reach the gates of Devas, the famous gnome village. Ryoichi is impressed by how well the gnomes maintain order with the infrastructure. Mari heads to her uncle's while the rest of the group disperses. Geo hands over the calculation for the wood to the local carpentry guild. The gnomes desperately search for firewood. They have stumbled upon a new vein of magical ore. Since the delivery was so fast, the squad has some free time to stroll around the town. The brothers try to arrange a date, while Ryoichi chooses the path of a loner. He checks the universal map, and without hesitation heads straight to the Travelers Guild. The appraiser almost collapsed from a heart attack while examining the loot that Ryoichi brought. He does not believe that the novice has materials for the Phantom Golem, so he begs him to join the guild. Ryoichi leaves with a new ID card ready to start a real long grind. Outside, he sees a young girl begging the miners to take her to work for anything. The local shopkeeper tells him that her father died in a landslide, so now she has a huge debt. If she does not pay off soon, she will be sold into slavery. The debt is 250 gold coins, and no one wants to bear the burden of supporting a child in the mines. It is a tragedy because her father's death awakened a new magic, Orvain. She even tried to pass the endurance test of the laying herself, but she lacked the physical stats. Her struggle makes Ryoichi remember how lonely he was after his father's death. He cannot just turn around and walk away, right to the doors of the Masons Guild. He looks at the mining site and knows exactly what he has to do. The poor girl loses hope when the sun begins to set on her deadline. Ryoichi finds her just in time and says he has been looking for her for a long time. He invites her to go to the mines with him as a team. He shows her his new Bricklayer Guild card and promises to pull her out of debt. The guard meets our guy and his companion near the 6th mine. He checks the guild card and asks if this is the first time they have seen the legendary merchant. Mayor begins to break down in tears because without Ishikawa's help her family would have been completely destroyed. The guard sympathizes with her because of her father's death and that catastrophic debt. In the tunnels, it is a complete PvP zone. The guys fight for every piece of land. These random ugly mobs scream about who got in without waiting in line. Ishikawa and Mari just watch as the chaos unfolds. The guard warns them, these are ruthless, bloodthirsty players looking to get rich quick. Mari cannot hold back the trembling. They will have to extract every piece of magic ore, for every fragment. Our guy pulls out a cracked, almighty map that updates the terrain in real time. Mayor cannot believe it. The map actually moves like a minimap in a high-end RPG. She uses her father's research to precisely calculate a huge hidden vein deep in the mine. Ishikawa is stunned by her high INT stats. The only problem is they need to dig through a rope that doesn't even exist yet. Mara asks about tools, and Ishikawa casually pulls a pickaxe from the inventory. But an ordinary pickaxe-like shovel won't be enough for this raid, the first in the world. He opens his item box and selects the craziest machine from his collection. A thunderous roar and a giant mechanical beast grows right in the center of the cave. It's a real monster, drills and arms everywhere. Mara is completely shocked by how huge this machine is. Ishikawa explained that he found this magical armored car in ancient ruins. He jumps into the pilot's seat and checks the systems while Mur is still buffering. He orders her to sit down and hold on tight. Mur screams as the drills start up and begin spinning with such force that they could level a mountain. They burst through the stone as if it were wet paper. Mara is panicking, asking what the hell is even happening. Ishikawa is thrilled the machine even reinforces the tunnel as it moves. After the initial shock, the Major is completely exhausted from adrenaline. Our guy tells her to just relax and take a break. About an hour's drive to the place, so it's time for a snack. He pulls out a box of donuts and sets up a whole table of food. Mara has never even heard of a donut. Her stomach growls, but she tries to pretend she is not hungry. She begins to feel guilty because her sister Moa has returned home and is suffering. We see a flashback. Her father works to exhaustion to save Moa. Ishikawa understands. The poor girl is stuck in a loop of self-blame. Suddenly, the car starts making strange noises and jerks. It completely breaks. They ran out of fuel right in the middle of the excavations. Mary thinks she is cursed and that she is dragging everyone down with her. She begins to break down and apologize for being a jinx. Ishikawa recalls her own tragedy when she lost her father in a store. He tells her to never let go of a helping hand and places his hands on the console. The car growls and comes back to life. The energy jerks it with all its might. Mary is in shock. This piece of metal is moving again. Ishikawa manually refuels the vehicle using his own huge manifold. They came across an ultra-hard basalt rock, the one that stops them with a cold shock. This is a full-scale attack with all force. He compresses his magic into one point and breaks the barrier with a strike. The wall crumbles and reveals a huge cave filled with a radiant magical mine. They hit the jackpot and Mary is ready to start farming. Ishikawa hands her a helmet and says, "Safety first." Returning to the city, the debt collector tells the mayor that time is up. He says the contract is unconditional, and he needs 250 gold coins right now. Mary slams a pile of gold on the table, and the man, despite everything, is left speechless. He cannot believe that she simply did not take the money and did not disappear. Even someone as ruthless as him reacts to the soft heart of our boy. He prays to the god of currency for their success. On the outside, Mare tries to find words to thank Ryuichi for saving her life. He even gives her an extra share of the loot for future expenses. Mur escorts him to her house so that her sister can also thank him. Inside, complete emptiness. She was forced to sell every family heirloom just so the power wouldn't be cut off. She calls her sister Moa go meet their savior. Moa wakes up to incredible news. The dead have disappeared. But when she raises her eyes, Ishikawa realizes her illness is much more serious than just a fever. Marin and Moa almost glow when they finally understand. They no longer need to be separated. Our boy decides it's time to put Mana to work and tries to cast a healing spell. He drips heal water on Moa to heal her. But the spell is immediately drowned out by dark energy. Ryuichi understands his basic heals won't be enough here. He reveals his god-class appraisal and sees this is not just some random disease. Moa's status shows an advanced cursed seal. It literally devours her alive. UHG realizes this is just like the curse he endured in the giant soldier's sanctuary. He flips through his tome of dark magic but finds only offensive spells. He decides to get creative and simply applies the drain to the curse. Moa looks stunned as dark mana begins to swirl around her. Ryuichi realizes that he is essentially drawing the attention of a deadly curse onto himself. Suddenly, a huge many-eyed shadow monster bursts out of the poor girl's body. The curse will finally be ended in the most metal way possible. Moa gasps for air as the heavy weight finally lifts her soul away. And Ryuichi has to swallow the counterattack. He chokes on blood while the curse transfers to him. Fortunately, he activates his god-class adaptation technique and blocks all the blows, holding on like a true terminal. The dark mist finally dissipates, and Moa slips into a quiet sleep. Mara freezes completely in shock when she sees that the curse mark has vanished without a trace. When the curse disappeared, Ryuichi throws another heal water to restore HP to maximum. Magic finally takes control and begins stitching her body back together. Moa wakes up lively without any fever and without pain. She jumps back and forth as if she constantly has a speed buff activated. Mare cannot believe that her sister was truly Helidan. Tears well up. Seeing Moa healthy again is too much for her. The sisters embrace our guy huge and overflowing with gratitude. Stomach Remedy decides to shoot all the aggro right here and now. He takes out kitchen equipment and quickly gathers the highest quality food for the squad. He serves them his favorite meatballs, udon. Moa breaks the bowl and immediately starts asking for more. Even the mayor can't tear himself away. The food there is incredibly delicious. They completely empty the entire cauldron, and Ryuichi says he can duplicate the ingredients whenever they want. He even throws them a few sister donuts for dessert. Mayor bursts into tears because he can't believe how kind he is to them. Ryuichi just looks at her and understands how much they both had to endure. He admits in his old world children had to be protected, and he sincerely envied their bond. He says he has nowhere else to return to. The family is already gone. Moa does not accept this and declares that she will get married so they can become a family. She clings to him, deciding that she will simply become his little sister. Yuichi greets his new sweet little sister, and Mara blushes with embarrassment. It gets late, so he decides it's time to return to the inn. Mayor stops him before he manages to leave. She asks if he plans to stay in the village for long. Yuichi tells her that he is halfway through his journey and might leave tomorrow. The mayor drops a real bombshell and asks him to accompany him on a trip. Our guy tries to warn her his journey is too dangerous. Marin insists that she wants to be helpful and repay him for everything. Moa jumps out from behind a tree with a plush toy. She starts crying that she doesn't want her Oni-chan to leave her behind. She holds on to him like the last thread. Ryuichi understands he cannot just abandon these two defenseless orphans alone. He recalls his second life and decides it's time to move to a new level. He asks if they are really ready for the dangerous life of adventures. He lifts Moya into his arms and announces that from today they are officially a family. The next morning the party returns again to the shop. Ryuichi arrives and tells the team that he has something very important to talk about. Master Gio finally collapsed after drinking too much at the party. The girls enter and Mei announces that she is Ryuichi's new family. The whole store is completely stunned by the sudden news. They discuss logistics and the huge taxes that the girl's family owes. They head to the magistrate's residence to settle the papers. Yuichi shamelessly pressures the clerk, slamming a pile of gold on the table with a crash. He pays taxes in advance for the next 10 years. He tells Maria that the money was for her father's research, so she shouldn't worry. The major finally calls him Ryoichi Niasen and immediately blushes. Maria and Nasir catch up with them outside and think that he is on a date. Ryuichi clears up the misunderstanding and explains the new situation with his sister. The girls introduce themselves. They are called Ishikawa. As soon as the cute sisters appear, the ladies immediately start pampering them. They notice that the girls' clothes are torn and drag them to change clothes. Moa gets herself a cute girly look, and Mira chooses a lively light outfit. Ryuichi is eventually appointed the carrier of the bag with the loot. Moa notices a bookstore and drags everyone inside so they can look at picture books. The clerk gives them a guild discount because they are members. Yuichi goes in search of specialized magical books for himself. Moa finds a cool picture book, and Ryuichi grabs an advanced scroll of lightning. Mary and Nasir comment that he is already behaving like a real older brother. The next day, Ryuichi takes out his tools and repairs the roof of Valor House. After the repairs are finished, Moa demands that he read her a new book. A story about an elven princess and an evil wizard. The hero uses a magical device that looks exactly like a chainsaw. Mare explains that the kingdom and the book are actually a real place. Yuichi concludes the main hero of this story was most likely a teleporter from Earth. He lowers his gaze and sees both girls have already lost consciousness on him. Ryuichi relaxes with a drink and talks to a photograph of his late father. He is finally happy because he has a family to protect in this new world. The scene unfolds. A gigantic monster looms over our pair, immediately setting the tone for all the upcoming hustle. Ryoichi finally returns to the group, dragging a small mare behind him. He enters the tavern and casually says, "I am back to the squad." Gio immediately gets to work because he missed the party and spent the night away from home. The mood changes as soon as Ryoichi explains that he adopted these orphans and now they are his sisters. Suddenly, the stern master turns into a caring Uncle Gio. Ryoichi drops a bombshell. They are moving to the village E. Gio goes crazy. His star pupil is almost leaving the guild. He finishes with "I am disappointed to hide how much it actually hurts." Gio storms off loudly, ruining the mood and completely spoiling the atmosphere. Moe worries as if she said something wrong, but Ryoichi knows everything must be fixed. The guys remind him that Joe is just a big loner knife wielder. Farewell party is in full swing, and the seat at the head of the table is empty. Gio did not appear but sent a farewell gift through the guys. This is a high-level battle axe forged by a legendary dwarf. Ryoichi picks up the hint, and the master is still watching his progress. In the morning charge, and the squad officially set off on the road. The girls are eager to see what kind of place this is. E's village. Ryuichi does his work on the ground, pulling the children in a cart. Moa loves the trip and compares it to a magical armored mecha. Ryoichi looks at his new axe, and he wishes he could thank Gio personally. Suddenly, he orders everyone to shut up. A dangerous feeling is already prickling. A pack of trash mobs has completely surrounded them in the forest. These strange badger-like creatures are looking for an easy snack. Ryoichi prepares his lightning magic, but Gio decides it's time for a grand flex. With one massive flash, the master prepares to put an end to this. The entire rocky wall collapses, burying the monsters in a complete massacre. Ryoichi is stunned by the colossal destructive power of his master. The group continues the journey as the sun begins to set. They decide to camp at a place where they had stood before. Everyone is bustling, pitching tents and preparing everything necessary. But Maria feels something is wrong and immediately pulls Ryoichi aside. She comes across huge tracks and a pile of animal bones nearby. Ryoichi realizes these prints are too large even for any ordinary monster. He tries to warn Joe, but the old man continues to act like a complete failure. They pass by each other in silence, and no one intends to give way. Others think that nothing threatens them because it is just an ordinary adventure or camp. They even start teasing Ryoichi about his new little younger sisters. Night falls and the camp finally freezes in silence. Mary still does not sleep. She diligently chews on the cards, intently turning them over in her mind. She notices that the relief on the magical map literally shifts in real time. Something gigantic is terraforming the mountain while it rolls straight toward them. She raises the alarm signal and everyone wakes up in panic. But wait, the heavyweights Gio and Ryoichi are nowhere to be seen. Ryoichi is actually on patrol now. He took the night watch. He prays that Mary's guess turns out to be just a mistake. Then the griffin suddenly breaks away from the sky and swoops down to prove that he is wrong. Meanwhile, Joe drinks alone in the tall grass. Moya finds him and calls to her Uncle Joe. She warns him a giant monster is approaching them. Gio tells her not to worry because you can handle any threat. She asks a real question: do you hate Ryoichi? He admits just angry because he hasn't had time to teach his student enough yet. Suddenly, griffins dive in a pike and bomb their position. Gio pulls out his axes and orders Moa to hide immediately. Ryoichi arrives on time, manages to back up his master. Gio deals with the flying pest without problems, but he knows this is only the beginning. One of the monsters retreats back into the dense forest. Strange sounds echo through the forest. Gio catches a scream and realizes the situation has just become deadly dangerous. He orders Ryoichi to grab Moa and flee together with the villagers. Ryoichi refuses to leave his master and fight one-on-one. Gio understands they need a distraction moment to buy the other time to escape. Something is watching them from the bloody leaves. A colossal bear emerges and devours the griffin as if it were a light snack. Ryoichi throws his god tier appraisal to check the boss's stats. Gio recognizes him as the legendary guardian of the mountain. He begins to recite the will, indicating to Ryoichi where his supplies are hidden. Gio charges his magic, preparing for the final suicidal attack. He shouts to Ryoichi to protect his family and move out. Ryoichi has no choice. He drags Moa and bolt into the forest. The moon sees the beginning of a tragic competition that is about to turn into a bloody clash. Ryoichi returns to the camp with a gloomy expression on his face. Other guild members want to help but understand this is a death sentence. Ryoichi sharply turns to Mari. He needs an incredibly big favor. He seats a little girl in the pilot seat of his secret weapon. He converted the magic walker into a heavy transport container. He gives her instructions and says it's time to take the wheel. The huge machine rises to its feet, carrying the entire village on itself. Everyone is shocked by the incredible speed of this magical vehicle. Magivna pours her magic into the fuel tank so it doesn't stall. They realize that Ryoichi is not on board the main transport. He has his own machine and a master who needs to be saved. Turning into the forest, Gio pressed against a tree. Blood flows from the wounds. He is slowly slipping away from life. The Bear King loomed over him and was already ready to finish the job. The beast lunges forward with a jerk, jaws wide open. Suddenly, Ryoichi crashes his car right into the bear's face with a roar. He shouts that he will protect his family with all his might. Our guy Ryoichi goes to the front lines with that axe, and the magical armor provides a powerful rear guard. This mechanical beast is the only thing standing between them and the complete destruction of the team. Ryoichi realizes he is essentially level 24 going solo against a level 68 raid boss. The Bear King Creek is a real mountain of muscle and a monster with top-tier stats. Buddy just upgraded his attack and Ryoichi is officially sweating as if he was hit by an avalanche. It rushes forward and swings those huge claws so much so that they can crush stone. Mech manages to intercept the blow, but the pressure is simply incredible. Ryoichi watches in horror as the bear begins to overpower the machine with its raw arm strength. The glass in the cabin starts to be covered with a web of cracks from the insane force of the struggle. Master Gio is stunned and dying while the bear changes its target to Ryoichi. This monster has no endurance and right now it is aiming to finish off. Ryoichi barely manages to pull out of the armor while the bear's claw shatters it, and he tears a strike in response with a desperate counterattack. "I'm fine," he wheezes, breathlessly thanking the absolute monster the Axeman sent to him by Master Gio. Gio is amazed. After such a collision, there isn't a single scratch on the blade. Ryoichi knows that physical attacks work, so he just needs to buy some time. He activates the god-level clone technique to fill the entire field with a swarm of clones. The clones dive forward and, breaking everything on the way, cut the bear's thick hide from all sides. Gio loses his mind when suddenly a whole team of his students appears before him. "As long as we can, we'll patch up," says Ryoichi, putting escape above all this fuss. Gio looks like a complete novice. He is being carried by his own student. Suddenly, the bear pulls out a move from the arsenal that breathes fire. Ryoichi dives into the very rescue to save Master Gio, while the flames burn everything in their path to ashes. The magical armor completely burns up and explodes from the shockwave. With no other choice, Ryoichi decides to merge his clones with dark magic. He pulls out a grimoire, uttering a spell from the very depths of the abyss. But the bear is too fast and, as it dared, crashes right through his distraction. A huge shadow looms over our guy as the monster instantly closes the distance. In a bloody burst of speed, the bear bites straight into Ryoichi's torso. His left arm is completely torn off, a fountain of blood. Ryoichi staggered from shock and desperately prayed for his god-level regeneration to finally activate. His consciousness fades, and he suffocates as he feels his life bar hit zero. He collapses into a puddle of his own blood. It looks as if he is completely broken. Master Gio can only watch in absolute despair as his student falls down. The bear stands over the body, ready to turn Ryoichi into a snack. "Will you make me, bastard?" Gio shouts and lunges forward as if it is his end. The bear simply swats the old man away like an annoying fly. Gio throws himself into the broken remains he is thrown back and coughs up blood hoarsely from the impact. As Ryoichi approaches the end, he remembers how close death is here. The bee begins to gnaw the severed sleeve right in front of him. A terrible sight, the bear finishes off the snack without taking his eyes off his lunch in the middle of the fight. Ryoichi's fingers twitch because his broken recovery finally activates. While the bear lunges for a deadly bite, Ryoichi prepares a spell up close. In the monster's mouth, open to the limit, a huge magical circle is raging. He launches a fire of lightning magic from inside out and tears the beast to pieces. Ryoichi rises again, his hand literally stitches itself together in seconds. He understands if the bear had bitten his head, it would already be the end. The king of the screaming bears is now stunned and looks completely defenseless. "How dare you do this to my master?" Ryoichi, who roars, gripping the axe. He jumps into the sky and lightning crackles around the heavy blade. He crashes down with the fury of a god, aiming straight at the neck. The axe bites deep, splattering blood everywhere as he delivers a colossal critical hit. "Show yourself to death," he shouts, finishing off the boss once and for all. Master Gio cannot believe his own eyes when he sees the legend fall. The headless body of the Bear King finally sinks heavily into the mud. Gio is completely stunned. The king of the mountain has been defeated. Ryoichi stands tall amidst the flames and looks as if he is simply the main character. Gio bursts in and attacks with a question: what the hell happened to his missing arm? "That original sleeve of mine is rolling there." Ryoichi dryly hits the tone to the master, and Gio throws a complete crisis, trying to piece together these broken abilities. Ryoichi apologizes for boasting such a newly irritating and cursed spectacle. He looks at the new arm and admits, all of this is extremely strange. Gio simply bursts out laughing from the pure absurdity of this situation. "Details don't matter now, it's possible to fight in arm wrestling again." Gio cheers up. He proclaims Ryoichi his proud student and the village's savior. Ryoichi finally feels a bit of peace. More and more reinforcements are arriving. Guild members arrive on other magical armor to join the fight. They say they led the villagers to safety before returning to help. His sisters sob, eyes wide with tears, happy only because their brother is alive. Another team is silent, stunned by the size of the dead bear. Ryoichi tries to explain the situation with his hand while the girls cling to him. He is fixated on the bloody spot on the ground and thinks about how to hide the evidence. Gio covered everything with covers for him, telling the others that he used earth magic to bury the limb. "Master Gio, thank you very much," says Ryoichi as they finally find peace. The news of the Bear King's defeat spreads through the district like wildfire to the local tavern. A traveler with bald ears secretly eavesdrops on rumors about the legendary murder. She leans closer with a barely noticeable smile and asks the locals to tell her everything. Dawn touches the village and the morning light floods the quiet streets. Sun rays fall into the empty room and the boy finally sleeps, recovering from that crazy boss battle. Ryoichi wakes up all bandaged and immediately sees. The whole village is looking at him through the window as if he were a rare gachapole. The villagers are ready to do anything to thank their savior, but Mari has to become a bodyguard so that he can finally rest properly. Nassel is already here, like a true girl boss, trying to sell priority passes to the villagers just to catch even a glimpse of the hero. Ryoichi lowers his gaze and realizes Maya and Moe have completely taken over his bed while he was away. He is confused because there are literally enough beds in the room for everyone. Moe is already at full energy, jumps up to give him a morning hug. Mia behaves like a true cinnamon roll, blushes madly and hides behind a pillow because she fell asleep watching him. Our guy finally comes out, and the rumors have already turned him into a local legend for that very stash of pinecones. At the bottom of the stairs, he notices a beast woman with a katana, a woman, and she looks like she was just released from a high-rank raid. She has those sharp eyes of a main heroine. Ryoichi trembles with sweat. He already thinks she is about to draw aggro onto herself. The girls run to greet the morning, and the aura of the warriors instantly changes completely. She gives them a soft smile, and Ryoichi suddenly realizes she is actually just super calm. In Na the counter, Marissa catches up with him and pours out great gratitude for saving her life. The entire small village population lines up to pay tribute to the new powerful combat center in the town. They left him a giant pile of loot, fresh eggs, meat, and vegetables. Ryoichi decides to put his survival skills to use and asks to take over the kitchen. Moe and I rush to help while the villagers watch as he uses spices they have never even seen before. He serves a legendary fluffy omelet. It looks like a 5-star dish. Nearby sits best folk warrior. Her sharp nose caught the scent of those otherworldly flavors. Ryoichi notices that she is hanging around nearby and offers her a plate. The girls invite her to join their party and she can't resist agreeing. Obviously, she is not used to being part of a group and looks a bit confused. She takes one bite and seems to ascend to another dimension because it is incredibly delicious. She goes crazy over the hidden flavor in the sauce. Ryoichi explains that it is just soy sauce, and she is glowing. It reminds her of the tastes from her homeland. Finally, she introduces herself, Coco Youth Jeberdius, a wandering adventurer. Ryoichi shows her his traveler's card, but she is a pure EA complete minus, practically the bottom, nowhere lower. He admits that up to this point he was just a master or an electrician. Coco does not believe this. She says an ordinary master cannot just single-handedly take down a mountain lord like Shoutbear. She says he has complete gaps, but his gentle mood is exactly what throws her off balance. Suddenly, Master Gio enters looking as if he was just about to venture into a dungeon. He is here to borrow Ryoichi for urgent matters that cannot wait. Gio spots Coco and immediately recognizes her stance, the level of a high-class swordsman. She says she comes from the Kuren Ryu school, and Gio orders Ryoichi to hold the defense. Ryoichi thinks she is just a good person, but Gio warns him. A woman who travels alone as a swordsman always has some deep story behind her. They arrive at Kegel to meet with the leadership of the local village. Ryoichi meets Chief Cowles and the guildmaster Kokis. The leader suddenly becomes serious and explains. Driving the Screamer out of their territory means that something catastrophic is already happening in the mountains. They recall the maritime disaster during the crossing that happened 20 years ago. Back then, a non-native monster swam across the ocean and stole the territory of Shotber. It was not just some monster but a pair of twin dragons. Ryoichi froze in place. He had only just learned about real dragons as a newcomer. These two twin dragons brought a calamity that almost wiped the entire island off the map. The Duke forced every soldier and every high-ranking adventurer to stand up for a desperate hunt. In the end, they defeated the monster, but the human cost was shockingly high. Gio is shocked. The dragons were a pair that had united forever. Then a shell was found in the nest, so there was a survivor. The chief orders Ryoichi to deliver an urgent letter to Baron Errol to warn him. It is a multi-day journey through dangerous lands, so time cannot be wasted. Gio's intuition screams that this is not just a false alarm. Ryoichi hesitates, wondering if a traveler like him should carry such a heavy burden. But the masters tell him that he is a respected hero and the most reliable of all they have. Our guy finally gets down to business, accepts the mission to save the village. Our guy Ryoichi is already trying to escape the city, while Mari is going crazy over his injuries. He tears off those bandages as if they mean nothing to him at all. The dude suddenly becomes painfully muscular and claims that his recovery speed is almost a cheat code. Instead of resting, he grabs a hammer and relentlessly pounds on some wood while the twins watch him work. He is actually building a custom rocket stove for the bathhouse for the squad. Our guy explains that a hot bath is the best way to relieve fatigue after hard work. In a moment, the project is officially ready. The work is done. It can be put into action. The twins also want to seize the moment, but without gear, Ryoichi tosses them t-shirts as temporary swimsuits. He pulls out a few t-shirts with a comically specific logo from his old world. Coco catches the consequences and bursts into screams, telling what indecency is happening in all this. Our guy tries to explain that it is all a big misunderstanding, but she has already faded into the distance. When the drama subsides, he tells the twins that he is going to Errol for a high-priority job. The girls are completely stunned by the sudden news of yet another departure. They again refuse to stay behind after that crazy story with the shooter and the bear. The squad sets off on the road together with Maya and Moa. They pilot their custom magical armored suits. Ryoichi realizes his physical indicators have grown many times. The level has just sharply jumped. Suddenly, he raises a hidden presence that is secretly watching them from the bushes. Coco emerges from the shadows and admits she failed to hide from his divine footwork. She holds her position, her hand rests on the sword hilt. Tension thickens as the two meet eyes in the forest. She apologizes for following him, admitting she simply cannot ignore his gear and his unhidden physical abilities. She says that beastwomen sword-wielders like her are usually feared and avoided. Ryoichi disregards this and tells her that strong lone wolves are the true peak of aesthetics. Coco cannot help but laugh at his quirky but incredibly charming gentlemanly manner. She decides to join the party right there to see what he is made of. The race starts. Ryoichi and Coco rush through the wild thickets at a crazy speed. Coco is truly shocked. A person is able to keep pace with her natural agility. Our guy asks if she can keep up while they increase their speed. Even at maximum acceleration, the magical armor falls behind this duo is twice as fast. Finally, they reach the waterfall to catch their breath after a long endurance sprint. Coco admits, during their little race, the pride of the sword wielder got the better of her. Suddenly, a giant monster breaks their brake and targets the wagon. Coco does not waste a single second. She draws her blade to protect the children. She reveals the current style technique and instantly tears the monster to pieces. Batty easily broken until the last moment, and he didn't even manage to land a hit even once. The twins are simply going crazy over how cool their new partner is. Ryoichi holds his face, claiming that his main talent is broken healing and a resilient, tank-like body. He compares his regeneration to the passive ability of the lizard man. Coco throws him a creepy look and says she wants to fight him later. The girls quickly realize these two became friends incredibly fast. The squad sets up camp for the night under the clear starry sky. Dawn has already come, and Ryoichi is bustling near the stove frying breakfast for the whole team. This common dish looks so delicious that it will restore anyone's HP to the maximum. Soon the carriage moves steadily towards their goal. They discuss the mission. It involves a legendary dragon that once terrorized these lands. It seems this monster left behind dangerous offspring that must be dealt with. Coco still remembers her parents' warning about that disaster when she was a child. The twins ask about her hometown on the eastern islands lying across the sea. It looks like a paradise for beastfolk, a beautiful tale, a bloody appearance around and fruits. The road continues through the plains, and the horses are increasingly speeding up. Ryoichi consults the map, planning his next move in the region. He admits he comes from a distant place he can never return to. And now he has no regrets because he has met this new family. High above, a massive shadow suddenly cuts through the clouds. The carriage keeps rolling relentlessly, completely unaware of the threat looming above. The dragon begins a furious steep dive straight at the herd. A piercing scream cuts through the silence, and everyone inside the carriage begins to panic. This monster is incredibly large and completely covered with frightening scales. She takes a step and intercepts the cart, landing with a brutal blow. Ryoichi checks the statistics and sees a level 98 boss with an incredibly large health pool. The dragon's maw flares with deadly red energy. Ryoichi orders everyone to immediately stand behind him for protection. He activates god-level cloning technology to create a distraction. Then he layers an ice shield and sets up a multi-layer barrier to withstand the blow. The fire burst strikes with the force of a nuclear explosion. The entire area disappears in a giant wave of black smoke and flames. Everyone survived the explosion, but the shields and clones completely vanished as if evaporated. Our guy took the heat himself and has severe burns all over his arms. They will not flee from this thing, so it's either victory or death. The difference in stats is simply shocking, and in this clash the dragon has the advantage in the air. Coco asks if he can read the beast's power levels with his skills. He reviews Coco's statistics and realizes she is actually a berserker fighter with a high level. She explains that this dragon is just young, and she is already ready to jump out. Ryoichi notices. Her offensive power starts to glitch and surge upward as soon as she focuses her thoughts. The dragon again swiftly lunges from above for another deadly strike. Coco prepares her most powerful move and asks Ryoichi to give her exactly 5 seconds. The dragon roars, looking like a true final boss. Coco looks at our guy and asks him to buy her just 5 seconds. Ryoichi takes his place and does not back down before that massive claw. He actually parries the strike, and this is already top-level gameplay. That RNG is a complete mess, and the dragon grabs him in an instant. It starts swirling in the air, squeezing Ryoichi with its claws as if he were a snack. Coco begins to activate her ultimate Oriental. Her statuses show her defense is literally 0 while she is focused. The monster rushed headlong straight at her. Ryoichi throws out a god-level clone technique to draw aggro. Ordinary physical and magical attacks do no damage to these scales. He decides to resort to advanced dark magic abyss darkness as a last resort. I bet my own life, he shouts. Dark magic explodes, throwing the dragon back. Ryoichi falls and blood floods the ground, but he is thrilled he managed to divert her attention. Coco grabs the victim and realizes her trust was not in vain. She calls him a brave warrior and her aura flares up. Her gaze fixes on him. She prepares her corners. Secret technique. The blade divider connects and the dragon screams in pain. Ryoichi buries his face in the bushes while the villain retreats. The cavalry finally carves out some breathing room. The team realizes the dragon is actually retreating. Coco is completely exhausted but glad they chased him away. She warns it's just youthful mischief and it will return. Wandering through the forest, she searches for Ryoichi among the greenery. Our guy lies face down on the ground and says, "I'm not okay." He explains that the dark magic debuff is no joke. He is mentally exhausted, but Coco is simply happy he is breathing. The peasants thank them for the MVP who saved the day. Two warriors share one moment. Mai and Moa rushed forward and cried so much that their eyes filled with tears. Ryoichi's entire goal is just to prevent anyone else from dying. Time to head to the city of Erol. Coco admits this is the first time someone thanked her for her sword skills. Finally, they reach the gates of Erol. The guards panic as soon as they hear about the dragon. The Lord's mansion is a complete flex. Stuart Carriot checks the letter from the village elder. The Baron goes mad from the news about the dragon. He demands some proof. Ryoichi opens his box of items. He slams a huge dragon scale on the table. Karas confirms that it is genuine and says it looks like a scale from 2 decades ago. Obviously, back then they only found an eggshell. The Baron buys scales as evidence for the army. He sends a petition to the capital for reinforcements. The servant tells them to rest after a long marathon. Ryoichi feels great, but Coco is still tense. The army has not moved for several days, and the native village is still under threat. Fortunately, dragons usually make a nest while they heal. They enter the market and Moa wants a red apple. Ryoichi decides to prepare candy apples at the end. The girls are bursting with energy because they look extremely delicious. Ryoichi takes a break by the window. They pack treats to go for a city walk. Erol looks quite picturesque. The city is gigantic and truly prosperous. They come across a giant temple. Temples bring blessings, and 3 of them mean that a nation can be built. 3 priests recognized by the gods are needed, otherwise nothing will work. Ryoichi has no idea what these monks are like until a boy in a hood falls unconscious. The boy lies unconscious on the ground. Suddenly, the boy grabs Ryoichi's hand. In a moment, the boy snatches a candy apple from Moa. The little thief begins greedily inhaling the apple. Moa starts crying because her snack was stolen. Ryoichi pulls out a box of Sister's donuts to fix the mood. Moa was happy, but the eyes of the children in hoods flashed with light again. The thief grabs the whole box and starts greedily devouring them. Ryoichi goes crazy because this child brought Moa to tears. The boy looks up and says, "I am not a child." She says her name is Malo, that she is 24 years old and a priestess. The crew is stunned she is actually older than Ryoichi. It turns out she is an elf. She has lived for 500 years and is still growing. Ryoichi looks deeply down at the little elf girl who is incessantly devouring food. "Restless children must be punished," he says, dragging her to the authorities. She insists that the gods chose her as a priestess, but our guy doesn't believe in excuses. Moa starts crying over the stolen treat and the elf finally understands. She stole a sweet red gem. The elf Mello was starving and decided candies are a heavenly blessing. Suddenly, a real waterfall falls on her head, a divine test of reality. Coco and Ryoichi stand there clueless whether they just witnessed a glitch in the Matrix. Malo completely collapsed, lying on the ground and begging for forgiveness. Moa is a true sweet tooth, and she offers to make peace. They shake hands, but Molo instantly senses some hidden potential in the boy. She suggests everyone go to the Temple of Monsama for a blessing. The line near the temple is huge, but they eventually reach the priest. Ryoichi undergoes testing and notices there are 0 changes in his stats. Then the priest casts a blessing on the girls. They begin to glow with pure power and feel a wild surge of energy. Ryoichi is stunned. Everyone got a boost, but he got nothing. Moa and Mia look as if they just leveled up their entire collection to the maximum. Moa is trembling with excitement. After all those exhausting trainings, she still wasn't given magic. Malo glances at Ryoichi and realizes he didn't get a boost because he already reached the maximum. She feels divine blessing of the highest level flowing from him, something far beyond the priest's salary tier. Ryoichi finally puts together why he mastered every element of magic from day 1. When they set off, Milo decides now she is on the team. She wants to repay the food debt by accompanying them to the next zone. Ryoichi warns her they are literally heading into the dragon's lair. Instead of sweating from tension, she happily demonstrates her healing magic. At the end, this girl eats so much food that it would be enough to ruin a small state. Mia asks to conduct a magic lesson while Moa raises the book. There is little space for the first edition of Dorad's adventure and loses his head. It seems to be a legendary rare artifact from her native land. Ryoichi watches them getting closer and rejoices. Team Synergy hits the target. Late that night, someone starts knocking on Ryoichi's door. It's Molo, and Ryoichi definitely does not expect a visit in the middle of the night. She tries for a moment to pretend to be night crawling for fan service, but he immediately throws her out. She waves off with laughter as if it's a joke and approaches so close that she ends up right in front of his face. She tells him that she feels something mysterious and powerful from him. Her intuition suggests he has lived a life that does not fit into any framework in this world. She retreats for the night but swears she will return later and bother him. Ryoichi keeps his reincarnation status a secret to not ruin the illusion. The next morning, they prepare to set off and check on the dragon. He shows his magical armored vehicle, essentially a high-tech two-seater machine. He actually finished the sidecar for this, and Milo screams when they accelerate to maximum speed. Coco is already ready to throw smoke, and Malo is just trying not to fall off. They reach steep mountain trails where the vehicle can no longer go. Our guy is impressed by how much energy Moi has for the hike. The boy notices a couple breaking out from the nearest pond. This natural hot spring is the perfect place to restore strength. Ryoichi tries to enjoy the bath while the girls on the other side of the wall chatter. Everyone comes out refreshed and ready for the final push. Malo enjoys milk while Coco relaxes after the bath. They finally reach the outskirts of the village Aya. But not a warm welcome, a black smoke rises into the sky towards them. Ryoichi freezes in shock as his second home is completely engulfed in flames. The village is a complete cemetery, and everyone is loudly crying out for the boys who disappeared after the attack. Ryoichi is just stuck in a nightmare. He underestimated how much real damage a dragon can do to his new home. Blood is everywhere, but there are no corpses in sight, so there is still a chance that the villagers made a tactical retreat. She almost just stands and looks cute. She uses tracking magic on the bloodstains to find a trail. The trail leads straight to the shrine of the giant soldier, northwest of the village. Our guy runs to the entrance and bumps into Sekis and Traz. They are glowing with happiness that he is not deleted. They explained the dragon has already been weakened, a wound in the chest, and because of this, they managed to drive it away. Most of the squad is safe, but the casualty list looks terrible. Many are still holding on to life. In the shrine, they find a temporary hospital. The survivors, tightly pressed together, huddle in a group. Maria is safe, but Fass is in a full coma, completely wrapped up like a mummy. Mari is clearly losing her temper, while explaining how he literally exposed himself to a precise dragon's fiery breath up close to save the whole group. Ryoichi tries to spam his healing magic, desperately trying to save his brother. Ordinary level magic is useless against dragon burns. It's like throwing a mug of water on a forest fire. The entire hall is filled with people whom that lizard completely tore apart. Ryoichi doesn't let him reach the resurrection screen and doesn't miss the moment he keeps casting until he runs out of mana. Even the children are crying, the healing just won't hold. He barely takes a step forward and reminds, true magic is the power to fulfill wishes. She begins to set up a giant AoE spell, light flashes, and the burst covers the entire room. It's a literal healing beam that strikes all the wounded people simultaneously. A quick sensation as the pain recedes, the light falls on him, and he melts in its glow. It's a true miracle. His skin regenerates faster than a high-pitched glitch error. He is back on his feet again, and the whole team praises Ryoichi for such op allies. Every person in the sanctuary receives a full HP recovery. From chronic joint pain to broken limbs, Milo removed all debuffs from everyone in one go. And the spell was so exhausting that Malo suddenly plunged face first into the floor. Ryoichi panics, and the only thing tormenting her is a huge hunger gauge. She was just jealous of Ryoichi's magic and wanted to show off, but now she needs serious sugar to recharge. Ryoichi pulls out candies, and she starts devouring them like a true gacha gremlin. Even heavyweights like Master Geo are back in action and feeling better than ever. The village head approaches to introduce the man who actually held the defense during the raid. Ryoichi feels guilty for not delivering the letter earlier, but the elder says he did his job perfectly. Because of that letter, the Baron sent secret weapons so that the deadly losses were recorded as 0. Meet Mezuki's, a modest-looking retainer who single-handedly repelled a dragon attack. Ryoichi shakes his hand, not even suspecting that he is standing next to pure power. The team understands. This is Meizkasa Soloed, the legendary A-rank adventurer from those times. This man is famous for tearing apart chimeras alone, and his body is as hard as steel. It's hard to believe that this gentle grandfather is a walking raid boss. But the dragon is still prowling around and will most likely return to finish the job. It seems this monster harbors a huge grudge against humanity and will not stop until it wipes everyone off the face of the earth. Since the temple is too cramped for 500 people, Ryoichi suggests moving to a better place. He leads them to giant high-tech doors with a familiar triangular emblem. They find a secret underground base built by the Triangular Magic Technology Company. Most in this world consider this ancient technology trash, but Ryoichi knows this is the best base. Here the darkness is so thick you could gouge an eye out, but they finally reach the main hub. Ryoichi finds a switch as if turning on the power in a high-tech torture chamber. The place is so huge that it can fit the entire village, and there will still be space left. Ryoichi manages to fix the power supply, proving that his engineering skills are at the highest level. Suddenly, an AI waifu appears on the screen and grumbles that he left her on read for 2 million seconds. She grants Ryoichi full master character access to use the shelter as he sees fit. Malo is already starting to compete and seriously sulk because of the new girl at the party. The AI doesn't even have a name, and that's a crime in any anime world. Little Moa steps forward and names her Mikan, and the AI actually accepts this name. The guild leader is impressed by how much property Ryoichi just claimed for himself. Mikan is not just a receptionist, she manages the entire security network. She warns everyone, anyone who tries to cheat or harm the master will be immediately marked. If they don't have permission, the protective golems will literally annihilate them. Ryoichi starts preparing food and supplies, pulling everything out of his item and replication boxes. This will cost a lot of resources, but they need to prepare for refugees. They deploy a squad of golems outside to guard the shrine from any trash mobs. Maeskis is impressed by the technology, but the real threat so far is the dragon looming over them. To prepare for the final boss, the legendary traveler offers Ryoichi a sparring match. Ryoichi is already ready to hone his axe skills, while reinforcements have not yet arrived. Maeskis draws a huge mechanical spear like from a mecha anime and says, "Please, don't be so harsh on me." Ryoichi is ready to grind his skills, but Masakusen is boasting serious legendary gear. Such a giant harpoon is not just for show, a high-class magical tool from Triangular Magic Machine Company. Our guy Ryoichi immediately recognizes that logo. Maeskasi admits that the Spear Chimera is a cursed artifact that bends and breaks every previous owner each time. This is a high-risk weapon, one mistake and the game is immediately over. The old man hasn't even managed to master this beast yet. Coco is boiling with joy before the sparring with a living legend. She suddenly lunged forward, but Masakasen deflects her attack as if it were nothing. His speed is unimaginable for someone wielding such a heavy weapon. Coco understands. She is completely outmatched because spear is a tough antidote to swords. Ryoichi tries to strike with an axe, but he is surprisingly quickly and completely stopped. Masakasen drives him into the ground and shouts that he is an amateur and has not grown into mastery. Yet the old man still feels some hidden potential within himself. Coco wants to see the true power of the spear and threatens to unleash several techniques in the Gurren style. Masakasen de-escalates, reminding them, this is only training before the dragon raid. Meanwhile, Mela was teaching the young mages how not to be a scum crowd. Moe is more concerned with her activation poses than with mana efficiency. They want to help Ryoichi, but Malo keeps everything as simple as possible. Magic will not scratch the dragon. There is little hint that they have learned to improve the body to survive the chaos. Magic that breaks physics can turn a sorcerer into a tank. Moa wonders, if you enhance the chest, Ryoichi will become happier, and this gets a harsh rebuke from the teacher. It is already too cramped on the shelter's dome. A knight named Julius rides up on a horse. He leads a huge invading army of 230 people. The general wants a meeting with Ryoichi and Masakusen. Coco winks at him and orders him to get lost like a boss. General Gustel is completely insane and wants the entire reconnaissance report. Ryoichi explains, the dragon is still young and he has not yet reached level 100. The general is impressed by Ryoichi's ability to assess. He actually offers the boy a place among the royal knights. Maeskisen considers this a huge fortune for an ordinary person. And Ryoichi remains modest, admitting that there is still work to be done on his combat skills. Gustav likes that he is not blinded by ambition. They go outside to look at the gathered army. It is a mix of soldiers all seeking glory. The general fires them up to finish off the wounded dragon. He promises the title of honorary knight to any elite performer. The soldiers simply go crazy. Even Masakasen boosts the drive despite his age. Ryoichi is a bit depressed among all these high-level warriors. Night falls on the sacred place. Ryoichi returns and sees. Maya lies unconscious and Moa is awake meeting him. Coco says that the baby waited all this time. Ryoichi admits, next to a pro, he felt like a burden. Life becomes calm as soon as they settle into a routine of cooking stew. Everyone joins in to keep the mood high. Malo finds a rare book about non-elemental magic to continue his research. A few days pass and it pours like from a bucket while the golems stand guard. Moa rushed to Ryoichi and begged him to help with household chores. He sends her to get some bread from the back shelves. She desperately wants to be useful. She smiles as she hauls bags of bread. Watching her work always cheers Ryoichi up. Suddenly, the whole building starts shaking from a terrible earthquake. The object triggers level 5 emergency alarm. When Ryoichi shouts Moe, a rain of stones begins to fall from the ceiling. He turns around and sees the warehouse is completely covered with debris. Our guy is in complete shock. He falls to his knees and prays that she is okay. In despair, he begins frantically digging through the stones. A bloody, terrifying roar echoes through the corridors. Ryoichi realizes that the conquest army could not hold the aggro. A giant terrible eye peers through the cracks in the ceiling. The dragon has finally found its target. The great dragon fiercely stares at our guy Ryoichi with its cold slit eyes. Coco jumps into the fight beside him while the beast roars so loudly it hurts the ears. In the depths of the caves, the higher ranks completely lose their composure. Their target has escaped. General Misaki is furious at his men because the raid went awry. The Baron's army and the Duke's troops do not fight, they only poke each other with fingers and spears. Julius enters with the gleam of steel to stop the fight before someone gets hurt. Silence, he commands, and puts these clowns in their place. The general realizes that their coordination was a complete failure because they fought with mixed forces. Now the dragon flies to the giant sanctuary to cause even more chaos. It crashes right through the ruins where Ryoichi stands. Our guy is shattered by shock, frantically digging through the stones searching for Moa. Coco dives forward and grabs him just as the ceiling begins to collapse and falls down. "What are you doing? Faster, get out of here," she shouts, but Ryoichi will not leave Moa. The building is now a complete meat grinder on wheels, and the dragon looms over them right now. Ryoichi is covered in blood and dust. He looks as if he is about to explode. He moves straight towards the monster as if on a suicide mission. Meeting that huge lizard, he simply says, "I wasn't going to die." With a terrifying look in his eyes, he adds, "I plan to kill." He activates his supreme divine cloning technique. A swarm of Ryoichi's clones rushes from all sides onto the dragon's head. They unleash a hail of blows, scraping deep wounds on its skull. Coco couldn't believe her eyes. The beast is really taking damage. The stats show this level 98 great dragon has already lost up to 6,000 HP. Ryoichi dashes forward along its scaly back and drives the blade all the way in. "Film this yourselves," he shouts, and black blood splashes onto the scales. "I'll help you," shouts Coco and joins the assault at full speed. They move in unison, like a raid squad cutting through the dragon's scales. Mia watches from the side and wonders if these two have completely lost their minds. She finds Malo, but both understand Moya is still buried under the rubble. Ryoichi is blinded by rage and looks exactly like his father before he died. They need to find Moya quickly, otherwise Ryoichi and Coco will die on the spot. The dragon swings its huge claw, but Coco barely manages to slip away from the strike with a dance. Ryoichi runs on his last reserves of strength, leaning on his sword to avoid falling. He looks at the stats and realizes the dragon's health bar no longer moves. The dragon's wounds are closing. It gasps convulsively, realizing the boss has insane HP regen. Coco orders him to buy some time while she prepares a secret technique. Ryoichi sends his last clone copies to throw all their aggression. The dragon swings its tail and smashes its clones as if they were nothing. Ryoichi shouts, "I can't summon anymore." His mana reserve is completely depleted. The beast kills him against the wall with a dull thud, breaking bones like glass. Ryoichi coughs up blood and prays to hold on for just a few more seconds. Coco gathers her strength, though this move exhausts her own life energy. "I will make this flower bloom wildly," she declares, and her eyes flare up. "Moon Lotus Flash Blossom," she screams and unleashes a storm of slashes. She confidently and fully enjoys both massive dragon arms at once. She reaches for the neck but misses. The dragon strikes hot, and her blow doesn't reach the tail. The strike is colossal. Coco scatters into the air and lashes over the debris. Coco-san shouts Ryoichi as she sees her partner fall. The dragon begins charging red-hot breath to finish them off. Ryoichi frantically searches the ground with his gaze in despair, looking for anything that can stop this. He notices a familiar weapon stuck in the mud. "I'll take this, Maeskison," he shouts and grabs the cursed spear for the final battle. The dragon lets out a deafening roar, and Ryoichi instantly dives to the ground. He doesn't miss a beat and, lunging forward, drives the spear straight into the beast's skull. The damage is almost zero, but a powerful knockback throws him into the air. Ryoichi is buried in the ruins while the monster hunts for his head. She stares at him without looking away, ready to see it through to the end. Ryoichi only barely smiled. What he crushed turned out to be just a clone. He thanks the monster for the opening, prepares the real spear while the dragon is pinned in place. With his arms torn off, he is ready to pull the trigger and unleash the true power of the weapon. Suddenly, Makin appears on the HUD and shouts for him to stop. This weapon is not for people from the recoil. Its life strip will simply disappear. Maiken tells him to give the clones strike instead of himself. The problem is that Ryoichi is fully Ohm and cannot summon another body. The AI asks him to retreat. The main priority now is his survival. All the villagers watch the live broadcast, trembling with tension for their hero. These guys are ready to drown their own lives to give him a chance. Even the elders step forward and say, the village hero must not die. They start pounding on the doors in despair, breaking through to help. Ryoichi hears their voices and his determination strengthens. He gives them the last order as their lord: hold the doors no matter what happens. But suddenly Mia jumps onto the battlefield and rushes there with all her might, ignoring the danger. She holds onto him tightly, understanding in detail. With a spear, he is going on a suicide mission. The wall is collapsing, and Ruidi is shouting at her to run while they are both being twisted into a fold. She does not move from her place, swearing that she will protect her older brother. She activates physical enhancement magic, and her body becomes a diamond-hard shield. Yuichi is afraid of losing her, but she does not back down. She tells him, "My living one," and can use the same tank magic. She begs him to trust her so they can win this fight and take their sister home. Our Yuichi finally captures the moment, realizing that this is their only chance to snatch victory. The dragon lunges forward with its whole body. They press the trigger together, and a fierce explosion bursts from the cannon, shaking the entire area. Mesicus's gap explodes inside the dragon's skull, and that boss turns into a complete fireworks show. The elf Mello shouts at our guys Rue and Mia while the dragon is finally blown apart. It turned out Mesicus is a real beast. He survived the explosion, demonstratively tensed his muscles, and showed that both he and Mia have mastered the hardened technique. Mia used the last piece of mana to take the hit for Ryu, although she could no longer protect herself from this action. Ryui completely loses control because the spear literally sat in the dragon's head all this time. Misaka says that Chimera lands with such weight that it's maddening, so he essentially let the dragon carry her while he chased after it himself. Our guy is sweating profusely when he realizes he almost blew himself up using such a dangerous RNG weapon. Masic is a joke. He could have let you die to take all the glory for himself, but he's just trolling. He squeezes Ryu's hand and says that he has the endurance to become an A-rank legend. And even fainting from the blow, Mia still holds onto you like a protective shield. Molo appears together with Mo on his back and grumbles that the child is too heavy to carry. Moa is also stuck in hardened mode, even unconscious, so now she is effectively a heavy statue. Ryu hugs both twins at once, finally able to breathe deeply, while the old man says they will wake up soon. Malo already demands an extra-large parfait as payment for her S-tier healing service. Gio and the guys burst into the place scared. Our guy is done for after that explosion. Gio finally shows some respect, acknowledges that they treated Coco like an outsider, although in reality she is a complete hero. The AI girl from Shrine confirms that the dragon has 0 vital signs and opens the gates. The sanctuary took a colossal hit and is half destroyed, but the underground vault is safe thanks to the golems who took the entire blow themselves. Every villager is accounted for and safe. This is a huge plus. Ryu feels guilty about the broken golems, but the AI says they will be restored over time if the cores are intact. Restoring the shrine will be a hellish labor because it was already falling apart. And Ryu is now the master of this place, and he vows to rebuild it with clones and high-tech equipment. The AI girl is actually eagerly waiting for this vision to become reality. Gio shouts that the carpentry workshop will put on a show after restoration. It's time to celebrate victory without a post-battle party with drinks after the fight. You won't be able to defeat the dragon. The sun rises over the half-ruined tower, and this is a sign the nightmare is over. Finally, the twins begin to open their eyes. They wake up screaming, still shocked by the stone rain and the dragon attack. Yui meets them with a smile, and Malo sprawls behind with her promised parfait. Mia is insanely nervous about the hugs, but Malo doesn't understand why she is so shy around her brother. Then the bomb drops. Ryu and Mia are only brother and sister on paper, and they are not blood relatives, so Malo is in complete shock. Coco enters the room fully recovered, as if her serious injuries were just a lie. She thanks Ryu for saving her life, just as distinguished guests arrive at the sanctuary. A whole squad of heavily armored knights stands outside in formation. It is General Gustel himself, and the man looks extremely focused. He bows and apologizes for the failure of his order, because of which the dragon actually broke free. For their bravery, Ryu and Coco are both awarded honorary knighthood. To make everything official, they are invited to the royal capital, Clavel. The children examine the map of the largest city on the island, ready for the next chapter of their journey. Coco must first get home and report to her father, but Moa does not allow her to go alone. Ryu decides their new party goal is to eventually visit the birth cities of everyone in the world. They step into the light, ready to see how truly vast this world is. Next stop, the royal capital. Ryoichi officially finishes his shift in the village and sets off for the next task in the royal capital. He feels a bit guilty leaving the builders behind, but the guys assure him they have the reconstruction under control. The entire carpentry guild shows up to give our guy a grand farewell. Even those who look stern, the villagers cannot hold back when they tell him to come back anytime. The squad is finally ready to move out. It looks like a top party about to go on a raid. My female worries about leaving Mike behind, but Ryoichi shows his new wrist technique. He opens the device and a mini AI microphone pops up asking, "How can I help you?" It turns out Ryoichi turned on his big brain and installed her as the OS on the device he found during the altar restoration. Essentially, this is a magical smartphone with GPS and a camera. He even made duplicates for the whole team so that during missions everyone stays on the same wavelength. Malo tries to treat the AI as a servant, but Micah presses her with system restrictions and says that she doesn't even belong to the family. Milo is completely restrained while the gadget toasts him, and the others just find it funny. Suddenly, an elite crew arrives, one that their old trips couldn't even dream of. Julius and his knights have arrived to personally escort this group as VIPs. They burst onto the road at full speed, surrounding the carriage with heavy armor. Inside, the seats are so soft and luxurious that the girls feel like real queens. Julius fires a sensation. He says that Ryoichi is being considered for the title of honorary knight. Ryoichi is sweating at the thought of climbing the social ladder. Julius adds, General Gustel is already a huge fan of his and wants him to become his direct subordinate. Our guy definitely feels the pressure of being a top recruit. The party approaches General Gustav's camp to settle in for the night. In the main tent, the general is bustling, reviewing reports. When Ryoichi and the girls enter, the general's aura is so oppressive that they think, now there will be a boring lecture. Mia and Moa introduce themselves, but inside they tremble. From the formidable commander, they expect the worst. But the general instantly softens, saying that your sisters are truly incredibly cute. He becomes serious again, explaining, after the fight with the dragon, they had a terrible shortage of food. His men tried to hunt, but skeletons and slugs are not the kind of dishes on the menu. Ryoichi offers the most gamer move of all possible, eating the dragon's remains. He summons a huge beast from the item box and shocks the entire camp with this. Maken runs a quick scan and confirms, the meat is high protein and non-toxic. Ryoichi grabs a knife and starts preparing the monster's meat. He whips up a batch of garlic soy marinated dragon tatsudo. It looks like a dish from a 5-star restaurant. The general takes one bite and instantly feels a wave of power piercing his body. Even the head chef is stunned by the wisdom of the ancestors in the recipe. The girls simply devour the fried dragon, insisting that it is the best taste they have ever tried. When night falls on the earth, Julius sets up 2 tents for the whole company so that everyone can share them among themselves. Moa instantly declares Coco her pillow because it is soft and comfortable. So Ryoichi and Malo remain alone to share the second tent. The camp falls silent as soon as everyone turns over and goes to sleep. Ryoichi is almost asleep when suddenly he realizes Malo has sneaked in and climbed into his bed. She tries to pass it off as a joke, saying her goddess will not mind after all, she is still a child. Ryoichi tells her to stop acting like a little brother, and this ignites her elven pride, because she is actually older. Before things get even more awkward, the sisters burst in from the doorway and ask for a picture book. Moa notices them on the bed and decides it is time to play the game horsey. Mia bursts into chaos and Ryoichi, with Malo, suffer a complete defeat. Coco appears near the entrance to the tent, with a dark aura looks like the final boss. The night outside screams, and I pretend it's just a lover's quarrel so sharp. The sun rises over the new day as the carriage continues its journey. They press forward through all plains. Finally, a huge castle of the capital Kryval bursts into view. The scale of the city walls is shocking, even for an experienced traveler. Julius says the ceremony is tomorrow, so they need to prepare their drip. They storm into the noisy city streets. Their first stop is an elite tailor's shop. The girls go crazy. Finally, they were allowed to wear cute dresses. Mio and Moya go outside looking just like real princesses. He brings them together and displays his luxurious new ruffles. Ryoichi gives them 10 out of 10, and they shine with pride because of it. Coco goes outside in her usual outfit. The dress still needs a few minutes for alteration. Julius tells them they have the rest of the day to enjoy the capital. Ryoichi and Malo wander the streets, stunned by the scale of this place. Malo noticed a huge temple towering on the hill. It is an impressive architectural work dedicated to the wind. She explains that the wind goddess Sulfina is honored here. Malo cannot receive the blessing because she is already a priestess of another god. Ryoichi stands up and receives a powerful surge of holy energy. The sisters deflated today, the RNG gods did not choose them. Suddenly, a male voice comes from the shadows and calls Ryoichi. He immediately recognizes the new blessing of Ryoichi. It looks proportionate, sharp, and mysterious. Malo completely loses composure as soon as he realizes that this is the first apostle Michaelius. Macarise tells Ishikawa that meeting again in this temple is pure doom. Our guy understands. Blessings are rare because the gods are constantly fighting among themselves. The apostle asks how Ryoichi is coping with the new life, while simultaneously mocking the complicated relations between the heavens. Mia and Moya burst in and shout that every day is a real explosion with their older brother. The great man simply smiles, catching these good and bright vibes. He immediately senses Coco's crazy sword aura and the elf's blessing on the water. Coco and the elf are in complete shock. They bow as if they met the final boss. Michaelius throws a quest source, hinting that they should rush through temples around the world to gather even more blessings. He warns them that the gods will throw trials at them before granting true power. So the apostle presses the despawn button and disappears right into the air. The elf cuts Ryoichi with a quick jab for behaving too casually with a creature that is a direct deity. Coco admits that she was sweating profusely. The pressure was much worse than the fight with the dragon. The squad realizes that they are just small fish in a big pond and sets a new goal for the pilgrimage to the temple. Let's move forward at the investiture ceremony, the whole team dressed in elite ceremonial clothes. Ryoichi admits that he can't even compete. The sisters look so cute in their new dresses. The elf girl pretends to be so majestic, superior, trying to show her gracefulness. She feels like a queen in this black dress, hoping that no one will call her a child anymore. Then Coco comes out in a white dress and looks like a true S-tier waifu. The team sneaks onto the palace grounds. Our guy is completely stunned by her gaze and starts blushing like an absolute klutz. He is a little jealous of the eye contact and angrily starts stretching Ryoichi's face. A knight arrives in a carriage to escort new legends to the castle. They enter the palace, which looks as if it was built for 1 billion gold coins. The main hall is packed with nobles ready to see the dragon slayers. Trumpets break the silence as the duke solemnly enters to begin the celebration. He sits on the throne and orders the dragon's corpse to be brought out. The giant monster is rolled in on carts. It still looks terrifying, even after being folded. The crowd of nobles completely and unconditionally loses their minds as soon as they see the monster. Applause echoes throughout the entire hall. The Duke honors General Gustav and his troops for their insane bravery in battle. Gustav steps forward and accepts the legendary Dragon Slayer medal. Next, the Duke calls the two who risked everything to deliver the warning. He officially grants Ryoichi and Coco the titles of honorary knights. The couple bows and modestly accepts the gigantic promotion in rank. Ryoichi is surprised everything ended so quickly. Then they head to a private room to relax with Baron and the Mazekaises. The Baron warns them this title is recognized only locally, so in the capital they are not big shots yet. He begins to mutter that the capital's nobility currently has too much power. Ryoichi realizes even high-level players have to bear the annoying politics. The Baron wants to recruit more local talents to cover the gap in influence. Mazekai says there was a plan to hire them as servant keepers, and this confuses the duo. But he honestly believes that a conspiratorial noble life would be a complete burden for them. He advises them, while young, to travel and see the world, not rot behind walls. The team gathers in the room. The sisters are already waiting there. Coco is finally exhausted by the social energy drain of the ceremony. Little Moa wants Ryoichi to finally start those card games he keeps talking about. He pulls out a deck of playing cards, and Moa beams at the thought of jumping straight into the game. Mia even tries to use them for some simple fortune-telling. Ryoichi builds a card tower, and the kids will guess if they can find friends at the upcoming banquet. Mia fears that the noble kids won't want to befriend them ordinary people. Malo acts as a mentor while the group launches a full-fledged gaming session. Suddenly the door jingles and opens and a tiny crown peeks out for a moment. A mysterious young girl confesses she followed the sound of their voices because she was curious. Moa doesn't hesitate and immediately pulls the newcomer into her circle. The girl introduces herself as Kirika and asks what game they are playing now. Ryoichi explains the rules of Old Maid and how the Joker is essentially a demon card. Kirika casts a sly, cunning look and suggests setting up a punishment game for the loser. Kirika sets the tone for a survival game with high stakes and harsh punishment. Our guy Ryoichi starts to steam up as soon as she mentions strip, so he quickly offers punishment in a swimsuit instead. He pulls out high-tech men's swim briefs from the item box to show her the latest fashion. Kirika's eyes flash. Stretch fabric is almost magic for her. Ryoichi agrees to the bet only if she can actually beat him in Old Maid. While the rest of the squad starves, Moa demands donuts to keep her energy up. Moa is burning with desire because of that pastry with a hole, and the rest join the snack raid. The girls understand if sugar is at stake, losing is not an option. Ryoichi lays down the rules: if he wins, no donuts for anyone. The girls instantly switch to full try-hard mode. Kirika starts training Moa and hints which card to draw. She literally whispers meta strategy in her ear to ensure victory. Ryoichi realizes this little genius boy is just being milked. Mia discards a pair. She looks too self-satisfied for her own good. Ryoichi thinks he is safe until Maya reaches the last card. Then he draws the Joker, and this immediately throws the game completely off balance. Merlot says this is a game where everything relies on psychological traps. The girls take the W and go wild over their grand victory. Karika admits that she didn't even have the Joker, and our guy seems to give up, handing over the donuts. He also gave away the swimsuit because he was going to give it away anyway. Kirk enjoys the donuts so much that they disappear in seconds. The elf just eats the crumbs while Marlowe offers to share his portion. Kureka wants the maid to hem her new outfit so she can wear it later. A guest of the arena appears in the city, and she is shaking because she sees how the lady is stuck here. Time for the banquet. The Duke is already worried about his daughter. The party is buzzing, plenty of food, and everyone is having a blast from the high society. The Duke himself appears to thank Ryoichi for taking care of his child. Ryoichi realizes that he was calmly hanging out with the duke's daughter and starts to panic. Karika looks a bit lonely as her father walks away. She tells Ryoichi, drop the formalities and just call her Karika. She also drops his titles so they can be true friends. And the rest of the party only supports this. Ryoichi says that next they are heading to the port town of Kirk. He is uneasy that she has no escort, so Karika calls Irina. The maid is actually a high-level guard responsible for protection. The older girls are simply exhausted from too much socializing and from eating all the time. The next day they set off to the city in a luxurious carriage. They examine the giant windmill, a true capital city landmark. Kirika talks about the blessing of the wind, and Ryoichi feels the gentle breath of the wind. She recalls that near Lake Mountains live the spirits of the wind. The children want to see the spirits, but Kirika warns, you must not fight them, it is dangerous. Marlowe's first instinct is to try to fight and provoke one to test his strength. While they continue their city tour, they visit a fortune teller. The girls receive identical ribbons to celebrate their new friendship. Ryoichi finds a bookstore filled with rare magical reference books. He notices the legendary book Triangle Magic Company. It is a relic of a lost civilization and it will cost him a hefty sum, a full 7 gold coins. Later, Ryoichi reveals he can actually read the ancient script. Moa boasts to Kirika about her own magical tool. And from the device emerges an AI named Mike to greet them. Kirika is trembling with amazement, they can talk from a distance. Kirika thinks the AI is similar to Irina, but Mike and sensors deny it. They begin planning the next big outing on the map. But Irina puts a stop to it because Kirika has classes tomorrow. Kirika must obey her father's rules but promises to accompany him. 2 days pass in a flash and finally the day of departure arrives. Ryoichi feels that being noble means zero freedom for her. Kirika runs out with a gift, dreaming that she will be allowed to join the party. Moa breaks into pieces as they say goodbye for good. She wants to give Karika her communication device so they can stay in touch. Ryoichi has already duplicated a new one for her, so the friendship is safe. And when Ryoichi opens the gift, there is a women's swimsuit sewn from his old one. Irina warns them, keep maximum readiness at the port because it is becoming dangerous. Pirates have been robbing ships in this area for over a month. The Black Pirate Squad is the main threat everyone is worried about. Their leader is Pirate Barbarossa, and he looks like a real final boss. Our guy and the team finally reach the coast, but the vibe immediately drops. The group disperses to deal with boring paperwork, and the kids relax by the water. Bad news arrives instantly. The regular ferry is completely stopped because pirate ships are stuck on the route. Local shipwrights are going crazy. Their repair queue has collapsed and there is no more material left. They desperately need wood, and the supply chain has completely burned down. Ryoichi presses the gamer's ultimate move and asks if restocking supplies is needed. He drops a pile of wood from the village blessed Aya on the ground, and these guys treat it as if he just threw them a stack of SSR fields. They got so carried away that they pay the full market price and insist that he meet with the big boss at the local branch. He is heading to the Adventurers Guild to meet the man who runs it. Guildmaster Held already knows exactly who he is, thanks to that legendary dragon banquet hunt. He immediately raises Ryoichi to rank C so that he matches his real strength. But there is a catch. Held has a famous request that only a heavy hitter can handle. It turns out the Black Pirate fleet, led by the beast named Barbarossa, is completely smashing local trading ships. These are not just random mob trash. They have a high-level cleric mage and combat skills comparable to royal knights. Even when the army got involved, the pirates still slipped away and managed to escape from the last raid. Help wants Ryoichi to join the subjugation squad as soon as the general returned to the city. Our guy is sweating profusely because he can handle monster hunting all day long, but PvP against people is a completely different story. Coco picks up his words and says that they want to avoid a total massacre if possible. Held respects the pacifist run and orders them to relax at Spirit Lake while they think everything over. The children desperately want to go, especially because the lake is free of pirates. They show toy boats that they made during their free time. Ryoichi gives them the green light and allows them to test their fleet in the safe zone. They reach Lake Matona, a place with a scenic view rated 10 out of 10. Then Ryoichi prepares to launch miniature boats for the girls. Getting into the water to cool off, Coco decides to show off her current swimming technique. Since something started happening at Malo's food dar, Ryoichi decides it's time to have a barbecue by the lake shore. He switches to Iron Chef mode and throws charcoal with a chimney, because nothing beats that smoky flavor. The spread looks top-notch: grilled squid, corn, and yakisoba. He notices a stone slab that looks like a perfect table and places the food on it. The girls are ready to pounce on the food as soon as they smell the burning soy sauce. But as soon as they turn around, the whole dinner disappears in an instant, as if it never existed. Molo notices that the table is actually an altar and begins to panic. Suddenly, the great spiritual herself appears holding corn and noodles in both hands. She admits the smell was so fiery that she couldn't resist and called the altar to grab a piece. Malo tells Ryoichi to bring donuts to stay on her good side. The spirit plunges into a complete sugar coma and decides to generously bless them as thanks. A flock of light wind spirits appears fluffy high-level familiars. The children immediately start petting them, but these things are not just for show. The Great Spirit explains, with her blessing they can now make contracts with spirits of all elements. Ryoichi examines one specimen and realizes, its characteristics are almost at dragon level. The spirit flares up, he is inspecting her delicate stats without permission. Ryoichi apologizes, and the spirit says that a name is needed to complete the contract. He freezes for a moment and suddenly realizes, the flower on her head looks like a hairpin. He officially calls her Lily, and she is really in the know. The spiritual gates open, sealing the deal and dispersing his magical contours up to the heavens. Returning to Kirkport, a giant warship stands by the pier moored and ready for action. On the deck, the knight checks on the registration and addresses a mysterious figure looking at the water. This is Alian Bark, and he senses the birth of a new spirit mage in this area. The knight wants to immediately recruit this new mage into his squad. Alian looks quite indifferent to this whole story with the comrade. Although he is a top-rank A adventurer, a heavy aura of loneliness lies upon him. Rumor has it, everyone who ever formed a party with him eventually disappeared. Alan stands alone, like a man who has faced too many game overs. Ryoichi wakes up in the mud and does not understand where that cat went. Lily appears on his shoulder and starts bombarding him with reproaches for thinking that a demon possessed him. She decides to jump into this movement because his friends have already signed their contracts. The whole squad is showing off their new recruits as if they just hit a 4-star multiple. Our guy realized they all signed contracts because they are actually normal people. Against the backdrop of calm spirits brought by the girls, Lily is definitely the most fiery in this company. Now she demands tribute right here for the honor of being his partner. Ryoichi makes a big move with his head. He bribes her with donuts because the Great Spirit loved them. The spirits just storm the chest relentlessly as if it's a limited bonus for the first entry. Even Malo gets into trouble with snacks. They are planning a barbecue party for the welcome. Lily explains that the spirit gate amplifies inner magic tenfold. Ryoichi tries and unleashes a gust of wind, although he is not a wind mage. The secret is that connection is the key to maintaining power and precision at a high level. While others get closer, Milo sweats from fear. Her spirit only wants to eat and sleep. Later, Ryoichi heads to the ruins to see what his new build is really capable of. He channels his magic through the gate, and Lily enjoys this insane wave. He shouts Windcutter and destroys a huge rock pillar. The output power is so high it's terrifying. Returning to the guild, I find the master. He is already waiting, and he has heavy news. He introduces Alian Bark, a highest-level spirit mage who has been expecting all this. She swings the dragon spirit on her shoulder, and behind her a whole pack of knights. She says she has serious business to discuss with the new recruits. Julius, wrapped in a grim look, rolled closer and threw a scroll on the table. It is a formal edict ordering all spirit mages to join the pirate forces for conquest. Central. These sea battles are essentially long-range magical duels between ships. It seems these pirates have mages who can raise tornadoes and spin huge whirlpools. If they evade the draft, they will lose their titles and become persecuted fugitives. There is no time to waste, so they board the kingdom's warship. I cannot allow her surname to be disgraced, so she goes on the mission for everyone and to the fullest. Ryoichi manages to keep the children away from the fight and leaves them in Malo's care. Julius promises that the female knights will watch over the sisters while they are away. These pirates are not just a target, they also accumulate mountains of power and gold. Olian explains that the balance of power is currently stuck in a deadlock. Ryoichi is worried because they are just level 1 mages, but Olian senses tremendous potential in them. They officially swear on this and form a party for the raid. Olian asks why he is not wary around her if most people find her intimidating. It turns out she is an A-rank adventurer at the level of Maisuke in his prime. She is impressed that Ryoichi is so calm, even though she is in such luxurious attire. Our guy simply tells her that it's essentially cosplay and is happy because he has a backup plan. This small kindness almost makes the A-rank villain blush. She tells him to drop the formalities and just call her Carrie. Suddenly, the entire battleship crew starts to sway as if they ran into a reef. It's an ambush from 3 o'clock with fire magic. The pirate ship rapidly closes the distance. The pirate boss with the hook hand laughs while preparing for boarding. They skip the long-term meta strategy and immediately jump into close combat. The enemy ship rams them, and the deck instantly turns into a battlefield. The boss orders his guys to take them out. But his supreme mage is a real slacker. He teleported away because he hates close combat. That idiot is already back in port. He's tired of the slaughter. He watches as Faye meets the sisters at the pier. The children hide their spirits as they were instructed. A terrible mage in a hood begins to watch them closely and calls them dear girls. He summons a huge Kraken spirit to do his dirty work. Meanwhile, in the open sea there is a real scuffle. Night trading clashes with the Barbara's crew. The captain laughs about the unexpected attack, boasting about how much power they farmed while the knights were away. The pirates decide to concentrate fire on the greatest threat, Catherine, the legendary fire spirit mage. They set off a massive explosion right in front of her, trying to erase her from the server. Ryoichi shouts, "Hold on, San," as the flames devour the deck, but Carrie just smiles crookedly and asks, "Do you think you can reduce me to ashes?" while she calls her fire spirit. She unleashes a huge fiery blast, and the pirate strategy collapses into a complete trashy disaster. The pirates go mad. As the ship loses its hull and takes hits in a storm, they call her a monster. Ryoichi exhales with relief. She is okay, but Carrie suddenly bursts into tears because she was told she is a monster. It turns out her old squad abandoned her because she is too strong, and she still can't get over it. On the other side of the deck, Sori gladly tidies up with a pirate running the blade over him. The villain makes a fatal mistake, calls her lapdog. That's a one-way ticket to being quickly and harshly taken down. Here he remains calm, but inside she is burning with anger. She summons a huge wolf spirit, and it raises a real black tornado. Trash mobs launch into the sky as if they arranged a physical simulator for themselves. Ryoichi bursts into battle with his spirit partner to clear the deck. He moves so fast, as if leaving afterimages to confuse the rest of the pirates. Our guy finally confronts Captain Barbarossa himself, deflects the heavy swings of the big guy, parrying them one after another. The captain is actually impressed and tries to sway Ryoichi to his side, promising him drinks and women. Before Ryoichi can say no, the captain of the knights lunges forward and crashes in to settle the score. Barbarossa does not need an honest fight, and he charges his magical prosthetic shoulder. He activates a powerful explosion, wooden splinters fly in all directions. While the knights are distracted by the breach in the hull, the captain gives the order for a full retreat. The pirate ship sails into the western sunset, while our team realizes they are literally sinking. At that very moment, Malo breaks the connection through the communicator and delivers devastating news. He and Faye were completely torn apart, a man with a cursed water spirit. Ryoichi finally tears off his mask as soon as he hears that Mayu and Moyu were kidnapped. The partner with the spirit explains that the girl's status was likely changed by a harsh spell. Ryoichi notices the pirate ship and realizes the sisters are still on board. On the pirate deck, a hooded thief watches the squad retreat, indifferent to the edge. Barbara Rosa tells the figure that they are not killers, they just wanted to take the loot. The horror shows he snatched the sisters from Kelkport only for training. He lifts unconscious girls with his tentacles as if they were ordinary things. The captain is actually a bro and demands to release the children because their code commands it. The figure in the hood officially put an end to this conversation. Barbarossa points his cannon arm at him and threatens to shoot on the spot. They pretend everything is fine and just laugh mockingly, after which they prepare to jump into battle. He stabs the pirate with a spear in the chest before anyone can react. The rest of the crew is horrified, screaming as their comrade falls. The pirates surrounded the monster and prepared to tear it to pieces. And that guy instantly teleports all the way to the masto, the crow's nest. He calls the ghost mages useless and threatens to break his toys before leaving. He starts wondering if it would be better to just throw the girls overboard to lighten the load. Suddenly Ryoichi breaks away from the sky and falls like a meteor. The frightened scoundrel trembles. Who the hell uses wind magic to jump so high? Ryoichi doesn't give him a breath, immediately diving straight at the target. Our guy successfully snatches the twins back and lands looking like a pure chat star. This horror recognizes Ryoichi and starts mocking the scaffolding, tearing off from the lifting platforms. Ryoichi is confused and snaps at him. How does this villain even know his name? Without warning, a massive shockwave of energy cuts through the air. The force is so insane that it splits the ship's mast in half into two parts. Ryoichi realizes talking is a waste of time and activates wind magic to pave the way for escape. But the villain doesn't let them slip away and unleashes a storm of black shards. Ryoichi doesn't flinch, even he takes the blow with full force in the back to protect the girls. The impact throws them onto the deck, and they fall down in a bloody explosion of wood and blood. A masked mage looks down at them and calls the boy a dead weight who only slows down Ryoichi. Mie and Moya are horrified. They see their older brother covered in wounds. Even as he bleeds, Ryoichi orders them to run and find any safe place. Mia clings to him, sobbing that in his arms is the only safe place left in the world. Suddenly, Captain Barbarossa and his entire crew emerge from the shadows. The captain throws a hammer and reminds everyone, the pirate code strictly forbids harming women and children. The entire crew now focuses all their attention on the masked mage, because he is a code-breaking freak. The villainess gets annoyed by the interference and prepares to erase everything from the face of the earth with a huge spell. He tears a colossal vortex that begins to devour the entire ship and drags it into the abyss. He laughs like a true psycho and promises to unleash a bloody downpour on everyone on board. Ryoichi charges into an attack for a counterattack, but the villain simply disappears from existence, blinking. The mage begins to boast smugly, and explains that his spirit Kraken gives him perfect teleportation magic. Ryoichi slices through with black energy blades. He shatters into pieces while the villain orders him to simply surrender and die. Our guy does not give up so easily and, gaining momentum, bombards the mage with flashes of his afterimages. Kanak connects through communications and informs Ryoichi that she is already analyzing the enemy's movements. She says that Kraken is the one controlling the teleports, so all they can do is seal the spirit. The villain continues to throw dirty threats. Next time they meet, he will hunt down the entire Ryoichi family. Ryoichi looks him straight in the eyes and says that there will be no next time. The troublemaker decides that Ryoichi is throwing down his weapon out of sheer desperation. But it was just a setup for Ryoichi to sneak closer and strike in physical contact. Our guy flies in with a huge blow, the mage is thrown back and sent flying. Ryoichi screws a trash mop-like broom to the deck, and the villain desperately shouts for Kraken to teleport him to safety. He is unlucky. The spirit cat sinks into Kraken so tightly that his powers are completely sealed. Ryoichi looms over the fallen mage and declares that from now on he will officially show no mercy. Ryoichi completely bends this hooded freak. The thief notices Ryoichi's rare black eyes and starts sweating so much that she is pouring. He starts incessantly babbling about some ancient ruins called Hill of the Dead. It turns out the founder of the kingdom is a visitor named King Dorado, and he looks exactly like our guy. This Dorado was a complete hero from books. He saved princesses and became a legendary hero. And the villainess says the fairy tale is a complete lie. It seems Dorado went crazy as soon as the princess got pregnant. He switched to full villain mode, shelled his own kingdom with a nuclear strike and killed his family before ending his own life. This weirdo says he is a fan of the fallen king and demands that Ryoichi take that dark path. He orders Ryoichi to finish him off, or else he will spill blood on the sisters. Suddenly blood splashes everywhere. The pirate crew is thrown off balance by this. Even Barbarossa gets hit when trying to take the blows for the girls. Ryoichi finally activates forbidden advanced dark magic. He is already ready to send this clown back to the lobby. Lily yells at him to stop. The recoil from this magic is insane. Ryoichi apologizes but already crosses that line to put an end to this. He raises a giant explosion of dark energy. As soon as everything enters the nuclear phase, Carrie bursts in to stop this bacchanalia. She tells our guy to calm down because hitting such trash is just like rotting your own hand. Ryoichi is stunned to see her there. As it turned out, she and Coco used wind magic and literally threw themselves onto the ship. Carrie tells Ryoichi that she will take care of the rest. She promises the buddy warm hugs while her dragon spirit looms over him. The man screams in pain, and Ryoichi just wants grilled fried squid. Carrie says that General Gustav's main fleet has finally arrived. We are heading to the port, the place where pirates are officially laid down. Barbarossa admits that he did not expect to be used as bait. Gustav is impressed that Ryoichi achieved surrender without any casualties. Even in shackles, the girls thank Barbarossa for covering them. The captain jokes that they will join his crew if he ever arranges a jailbreak. He is led away. He even looks like a real one, though he is a pirate. Ryoichi notes that they were not actually that evil. Gustav says that the capitals need reforms, and people are already tired and fed up with these talks. He even suggests promoting Ryoichi for his colossal contribution. He hopes that in the future they will be able to follow the same path. Here Ryoichi spots Spotsmilo all beaten and badly bruised. She bites herself for being useless during the battle. Ryoichi suddenly hugs her to calm her down. She gets confused and starts to get nervous but reminds herself she is his future wife. Still, Ryoichi cannot stop thinking about that man King Dorado and the fact that he seems to be a transmigrator. He almost started asking about the Elven Kingdom but decided to keep silent about it for now. The pirate incident has been officially recorded in the lists. Coco says that the fairies have started working again, and Ryoichi decides to just be himself despite everything that happened in the past. It's time to set off on a journey to the Kakanatsu Islands. Carrie and Ryoichi are already sweating on the deck during an intense A-rank sparring session. The clatter of steel is the only sound on the boat, while our guy tries not to fall behind the literally legendary figure. Carrie admits he has a real talent for the blade, not just the axe. Ryoichi accelerates, but his crazy fast healing factor allows him to withstand these high-level blows. He wipes to the edge to never feel helpless again, guarding his crew. Seeing the gains, the little sisters won on the training arc as well. Carrie adopts a cute student image and agrees to turn them into fighters, but before they draw their swords, she arranges an elegant tea party. Stop, this is a marriage training. They just dress them up in the arena and transform them into maids. This is essentially deep level, spirit mage training to bring them into sync with the summoned ones. They need to eat and laugh together to reach that high state of unity between person and spirit. The goal is a complete reboot, although Ryuichi thinks he is too ordinary to manage it at all. While everyone is enjoying themselves, Milo is currently losing 1v1 against seasickness. Coco is dripping medicine to the elf, while Ryoichi just stands and watches melted lumps spreading on the floor. Coco says she is married to the blade and does not need a husband. Our guy tells her that at the ceremony she looked just like a real beast, so suitors will line up. Coco makes her move and asks, "Would you take me, Ryoichi-san?" The whole squad immediately falls apart due to sudden talks about romance. Ryoichi keeps everything professional. He wants to register the party to officially protect them in foreign lands. Coco understands, family is the real stat boost she was looking for. Malo barely manages to recover at the very last moment, declares that she is the first wife, and shoots a malicious look at the rivals. Ryoichi just breaks out in sweat, trying to break through this harem hell to your social meeting. Sentimentality washes over them as soon as they finally approach their places near Coco's home. The observer sees the peaks of Sangyua Island rising above the horizon. Coco breaks down the explanation about the Kakanatsu archipelago and says that her home is Ikige Island. They drive up to Makuni Port. They look like a solid force and a powerful crowd. Malo crashes into the ground like a sack of potatoes, while the others look for a place to land. They find a local spot that looks like a high-class Japanese ryokan. Owner Miyabi meets 6 guests, and Ryoichi involuntarily immediately takes off his boots. He himself guessed the no-shoes rule even without any hint, and that's a pure pro-gamer move. They enter the room with peonies and the view there is just at the absolute peak. The children are delighted with the grass carpet, while Coco explains the magic of tatami. Sipping tea here, Ryoichi feels as if he has returned to Japan again. They tell the host that they accompanied Coco back to her family home in Ikige. Miyabi warns them, everything there is fiery due to a series of quarrels about the succession to the throne. Above the shanty, the group begins to worry about what kind of mess they are about to get into. Coco says that her father is a martial arts master, 2 wives and a whole huge household. These are 3 sons from the first wife and 3 daughters from the concubine. Despite the gap in status, the old man treated each child as if they were the main character. The elder brother Sarah is a star student, and the second son Masato is simply a free spirit. Her third brother Coral was a frail scholar, and Coco once really fought him in duels. Miyambai takes out a yukata so the team can head to the hot baths. After a long soak in the tub, the girls looked at the price tag of the expensive kimonos and realized, a full 50 gold coins. Carrie believes it's time for a major equipment upgrade. The girls step out pure royal grandeur in their new floral patterns. Everyone crowds around Ryoichi to see if he is alive with his new look. Our guy switches to gacha whale mode and decides to buy absolutely every clothing set on the spot. That's 150 gold for everything, but the money is from dragon trophies and Ryoichi is absolutely loaded with cash. They meet with a diplomat named Sujitani at a huge seafood banquet. The diplomat is impressed by their closeness, even when Malo is busy claiming the status of his lover. The mood sharply changes when Sujitani says he is here to reconcile a tragic family feud. The Jabeldia's family is tearing itself apart from within over who should lead Kegu Island. Coco is completely stunned. No word about this has come from the family so far. The disaster happened right before the ceremony. Coco's father and older brother collapsed after poisoning. They lay flat and seem to have only half a month left to live. Sujitan offers them a ride on a warship to get there faster, and the desperate Coco agrees. She breaks down at the news, but Ryoichi is immediately nearby. He manages to catch her. He orders her to give everything to him. He will not allow her family to die. Returning to the island, the tension is so thick it can be cut with a blade. The second son, Masato, babbles filth and tries to destroy anyone who stands in his way. But the delicate third son, Karo, does not back down. He challenges his brother to a duel and accuses him of his crimes. Masato casts a shadow over his brother's new confidence. Sero no longer jokes. He draws his blade and sets out to put an end to this. Both are ready to bear the sin of killing a brother or sister to end this hostility. They converge on the edge of the precipice. Steel screeches. They go all in an honest duel. Meanwhile, we move to the house of the Garibaldi family on Iku Island. The staff is going crazy. Lady Coco has finally returned. She calls our guy and the rest of the party inside. The aura presses down as they enter the master's office. Toshiaki looks completely cooked on his deathbed. Coco introduces the team, but the old man immediately sees these are not just random nobodies. He immediately fixes his gaze on Ryoichi. The man is a warrior to the bone. He felt Ryoichi's insane level of power even before he coughed and spat out blood. Coco panics and begs Malo starts flapping on heels. Malo checks the status and realizes the highest level magic is already activated, but nothing is happening. A masked priest relentlessly sends out rituals. The medicine doesn't work, and the old man is melting before their eyes. The priest orders everyone to clear the place. It's already hopeless. The group steps into the corridor and feels the full weight of the situation pressing on their shoulders. Coco asks where her mother is, and the answer is pure disaster. Lady Minako has placed Lady Chuno under house arrest. Coco rushes forward to find her mother, who is held prisoner in her own home. Mother pours out lore about the war for inheritance, and it tears the family apart. She was framed. During the ceremony, she was accused of poisoning the head of the house. Coco is ready to start a fight to prove that her mother is innocent. They start a conversation about Brother Corral, but the culprit of the celebration appears out of nowhere. Caro was drenched in blood and was dragging a suspicious bag. He looks completely bad, and Coco is in panic because of what happened to him. He insists that Masato is a real villain who is behind all this chaos. Caro tells our guy to take the women and get off the island before it's too late. Coco falls to the floor in despair because her family has fallen apart. Ryoichi doesn't catch the vibe and feels pure bloodthirstiness in the air. Suddenly, two little fox girls with wooden swords pounced on him. Our guy doesn't even wipe the sweat, he dodges these two effortlessly. He effortlessly deflects their attacks as if they were just some trash mobs. He practiced strikes with the best, so these kids can't even touch him. He launches a quick wind magic, a tornado, to safely blow them away. The mother steps forward and apologizes for the warm reception Mimi and Mem gave. The twins realize the trouble they caused and offered a formal apology. Ryoichi notices how much his wealth has grown since the very start of this path. Coco feels the pressure not to fall behind Ryoichi's growth. They try to escape, but the guards block the way on Chuno's orders. The entire squad is officially stuck in this mess. Ryoichi begins to devise how to save the old man. Since magic doesn't work, he resorts to appraisal to find out. This is a medical condition, not a curse. He realizes modern medical technologies might be the only chance to save the day. He calls Mike inside so she can do a scan, but she first needs an upgrade to the medical kit. The map shows that the nearest upgrade point is on Hachiku Island. Ryoichi decides the only way out is to move forward. Even if it's a long shot, he will bet all his tech on it. Coco is already on the verge of tears. Our boy is her only hope left. The team arrives at the gigantic ruins on Hachiku Island. They begin to scour the area in search of any signs of a laboratory. They go deep into a dark cave and they're a dead end as if there is no way out. Maken explains that the real facility is hidden inside the mountains. Our guy Ryoichi is now ramming the mountainside in his magical armored tank. The crew feels a pang of nostalgia for their old mining days, even if the landing is a bit on the edge of overload. Carisen is going crazy. She has never seen an artifact of this level in the royal capital. They break through the last layer of rock with a heavy blow. The tank rolls into a massive high-tech underground corridor. This is a secret research base hidden deep in the mountains. Mike N appears on the screen, analyzes the floor plan, and leads them straight to the generator on the third basement floor. The atmosphere is pure horror game vibe as they descend the dark stairs down. Carisen explains that the company that built this is now just a regular, tweaked remake. Essentially, they are just selling old artifacts instead of making anything new at all. Finally, they reach the basement floor and come across a huge emergency magical generator. It is a complete rarity, but it is their only chance to restore power. Maiken warns him about the burnt wiring, but Ryoichi does not worry at all. He works his magic through the replication box to replace broken parts with fresh ones. The girls stand behind and freeze in absolute admiration of his master-tier mechanic skills. He presses the switch system reboots, and Ryoichi registers as the new administrator. Throughout the house, the lights flicker and the security locks unlock one by one. They find a food storage has been preserved in dimensional freezing. Mike can understand that she is capable of synchronizing her data with the artificial humanoid to update her functions. They reach the deepest doors where the project is kept. Mike immediately starts the synchronization process. Suddenly, just as the process is ending, the pipe with the preserve begins to release steam. Meanwhile, on Aiku Island, events are heating up seriously. Two fox girl ninjas rush through the forest at full speed. Mimi and Memi manage to escape from their guards using a combination with sleeping powder. They track the blood trail, sniffing together Brother Kurao and Brother Masato. They are in panic. Masato has lost his mind and did something unimaginable. Mem tries to protect him, saying he is a reckless womanizer but not a cold-blooded killer. We move to the estate of the Gebertius family. Karo is treating his wounds and the mother is watching over him. He drops a bombshell. Masato is already dead. He pulls out a bag, inside which is Masato's severed hand and a terrifying-looking dagger. The elders of the family are simply stunned by the news. It turns out this is Sasafune, the legendary cursed blade that brings ruin to everyone who possesses it. The mother is already ready to go down the path of war and punish everyone in the Masato faction. Karas stands in the way of hype provocations. He says that the next quarrels will only tear the family apart completely. His mother calms down and asks what he thinks they should do instead. He suggests expelling Lady Monaka and her daughters to preserve peace. It is a ruthless game, but it may be the only chance to save the clan from total destruction. The team appears as if they just jumped out of a high-tier gacha banner. Maiken finishes installing on all expansion kits, and our guy now has a full-fledged medical section. Ryoichi realizes that he is now the new admin of this huge base, and the security is behaving way too freely. Besides the canned goods that have been here for centuries, this place is a true legendary treasury. We are talking about a real arsenal filled with military magical exoskeletons. Ryoichi is sweating profusely. The children still do not even understand what a weapon is. He understands this technology is too heavy for one person. Excessive force like this is a huge risk if it falls into the wrong hands. They decide to freeze the object's operation in time and completely block the control systems. Mikin switches to full overkill mode, places Shisa golems, and prepares a self-destruct nuclear bomb as a backup plan. Our guy is really afraid of what would have happened if they had failed to check earlier. Returning to the mansion, Lady Chuno visited Manaki with heavy news. Coco is sent to watch the children while the adults handle their affairs. The mood falls into the abyss when Chuno shows that Masato is already dead. Obviously, Masato is the rat who tried to poison the lords. The whole family disowns her, and Coco cannot believe that this nightmare is actually real. Chuno gives them a small reprieve, no further punishment. Manaka bursts out, shouts at her mother, and reproaches her for being so cold-blooded about the death of her own son. Despite the grief they are told, Lord Toshiaki is still clinging to life. They are given one last chance to visit the estate before they are finally driven away. Coco feels her world cracking at the seams as she comprehends the betrayal. Even worse, Mimi and Meme pulled off a classic ninja swap and disappeared. By the shore, waves crash against a hidden cave in the rock. The girls sneak through dark tunnels, although the atmosphere there is completely cursed. Mimi trembles in her boots while Meme tries to troll her with ghost stories. The joke turns bitter as a zombie horde literally appears behind their backs. Mimi screams in terror as the monster lunges forward to finish them off. Meanwhile, the main gang finally docks at Ikigo Island. They need to find Coco as soon as possible, but the island is teeming with hostile energy. The ninja squad instantly jumps out to block their path. These trash mobs are not joking. They are preparing a flashbang to confuse the team. The screen whitens as soon as the flashbang detonates right before their eyes. The ninja dives through the smoke for a deadly strike, while Ryoichi tries to cover the children. Mikin is not going to tolerate this and sends the killer flying with a powerful kick. Her android eyes do not care about the light, and she draws her blade to finish the job. Malo also steps forward ready to cast suppressive magic on these fools. She transforms into battle attire Cheongsam as if straight from a fighting game. Ryoichi does not understand where she gets all these references. The maternal figure easily crushes the opponent without even breaking a sweat. She understands these attackers are completely empty, they have not a drop of life. Someone is definitely pulling the strings of this whole family feud. In the estate, Lord Toshiaki lies in his sickbed. He looks completely exhausted. Chuno presents them with a literal chest full of gold to bribe them. This is essentially a severance compensation to force them to leave the island forever. Manaka is not about such a life and refuses to touch money earned with blood. She holds her position, stating that only the head of the household can expel her. She decided to clear Masato's name no matter how much she has to suffer. Without her pride, living for her is essentially death. Suddenly, the Lord's condition sharply worsens. Toshiaki begins coughing up blood, and the room immediately erupts into complete panic and chaos. The high priest steps forward and casts what looks like a restorative spell. He begins channeling bright light magic to save the dying Lord. Suddenly appearing, Malo shoots a spell at the priest from the doorway. Passers-by are stunned, but Malo explains little. She did not use combat magic. Ryoichi and the team arrive and reveal it was actually purification magic. Ryoichi used divine appraisal and caught the priest who was trying to cast a deadly curse instead of healing. Holy water exposes the true form of the priest when his human mask crumbles. It turns out that guy was all along an undead revenant who was just fighting at long range. The high priest begins to lose his mind, and right before everyone's eyes transforms into a genuine demonic entity. He bursts into a full aggressive attack and lunges at Malo, shouting that he will put an end to this cursed elf. Varen does not let this happen and takes the blow to block the strike before the villain can land it. They clash in blows and Varen notices this ghost has considerable brute strength behind his swings. Realizing that an ordinary sword won't suffice, Varen decides to get serious and calls upon the god of tailoring. He initiates the summoning of a sacred artifact, and the air immediately crackles with high-level magical energy. In a moment, his gear is replaced with a legendary set, and he materializes the divine needle sword rapier. Slightly completely stunned, when in the heat of battle, a change of outfit happens right before the eyes like a magical transformation of a girl warrior. Rarin has little time on the clock for this form, so he wants to finish the fight in one shot. He throws his Crimson Virtue Law, the first form, and mercilessly tears the priest apart, turning him into red mist. The bosses collapsed instantly, but Milo is in shock. Voron just erased a high-ranking official. Lady Chuno begins to lose control and shouts for the guards to arrest the mainlander for the murder of the priest. The squad completely surrounds the squad of samurai the guards, itching to draw their blades. Our guy tries to play peacemaker, explaining that the priest was a zombie resurrected and they were just saving the master. Chuno fell into complete denial, unwilling to believe that the priest could be a monster even after seeing this demonic form. Kuro looks as if he has had a crisis of faith. He is asked to explain where exactly he actually met this priest. He admits that they met on Revenant Hill and the group realizes they need to heal the master before he falls to 0 HP. Chuno incessantly barks about foreigners, but Kuroa pleadingly asks her to allow the group to help save Kuroa's father's life. Suddenly Masato bursts through the door. He orders the old witch to be silent. Everyone is stunned. Masato is alive. He tells the visitor from the mainland to ignore the noise and just treat his father. Nanako changes into medical clothes and begins a full medical scan of the weakened master on the bed. She identifies the debuff as magically induced shock, and our guy is more concerned about how short that skirt is. It turned out someone deliberately let magic near the master from the inside to keep him sick. Since this is an ancient curse, they understand. To remove the cursed effects and what remains, specialized dispelling is needed. Nanako points out that Milo is the perfect battery to power this ancient formula that removes spells. Malo just stands and looks with an expression of what now, while realizing she is about to be drained. They combine their attributes and launch a giant dispel directly at the master. The curse breaks and the master finally wakes up, as if shedding a huge debuff of weight. The family is burning with joy that Lord Toshiaki is finally coming to his senses. The servants burst into applause as if they just won the world championship, just as the master woke up. Nanako is not finished, yet she drags the half-dead Malo into the next room to go treat Zero. Another powerful flash, the magic dissipates bursts out instantly while they work on the next patient. Sarah immediately recovers and after the curse is lifted, arranges a warm, sincere meeting with Makako. Coco joins everyone in hugs, grateful that the family is finally together again and all healthy. She sobs with joy, calls the team her irreplaceable friends for saving her family. Masato does not let his mother get away with it. He pokes Chuno to make her kneel and apologize. He explains how he survived the fall from the cliff, and how he lived after losing his arm hiding in a coastal cave. Chiono bows her head and tells him, if necessary, just punish her to settle everything. Masato just snorts, says he does not kill women and that she is ruining his mood. She breaks down in tears finally when she realizes her son is safe. True emotion bursts out of her. Masato tells her to save the drama and definitely thank those who really did the main work. He glances at Kurao, recognizing a brother in him as they prepare for whatever comes next. Korra is ready to lead forward as the guards finally give up their positions and let the heroes through. The Fox Priestess is bound to deep prayer until the tension reaches the boiling point. Masato holds his position against Kurao and tells the traitor he will repay him the debt for the gift he received many years ago. Coco keeps wiping sweat from his forehead, begging everyone to stop the end with the Revenant has just come and he was defeated. Masato reveals the true instigator is still unexposed and shows his missing hand as the final proof. A flash of memories shows how Kurao with the legendary cursed blade Sasafune cuts Masato like butter. Masato exposes him to the public for the gravest sins, the murder of father and brother. Korra turns thoughts inside himself and crafts a plan how his unbreakable magic was destroyed by these strangers. He rushes at full speed, accuses the strangers of ruining his life, and swiftly lunges forward with a deadly strike. Two brothers engage in a high-speed duel, a complete spectacle for the eyes. Sparks fly as their blades clash in a battle for dominance. Korra regrets not hitting the most important target then and decides it's time to sever all the ties he still has. Masato feels the mood has changed as soon as Kurao falls into a terrifyingly familiar stance. Karao begins to direct mana towards the legendary secret technique Karinus. He releases Violet Lightning Lotus Slash, a powerful AoE attack that covers the entire field. The strike was colossal. Masato is bleeding and cannot comprehend how his brother managed to break such a thing. Masato admits, even without the cursed sword, Corral has already reached a completely different level of power, a completely different ceiling. The surrounding courtyard is completely demolished by the incredible force of that clash. Carol looms over his brother, mocks his broken blade, and prepares to put an end to this fight. Suddenly, Coco jumps into the line of fire to cover Masato. She sobs so much that her eyes sting, pleadingly calling her kind childhood brother wake up. Koro does not hear him, and insists that he was always alone in a family that valued only talent. He felt a target on his back. Everyone hated him for weakness, even though they showed him affection. A memory shows hooligans smashing Corral's research books, while Coco tries to defend him. He always felt like a lower-class loser compared to his talented older brothers. Once they secretly honed their fencing skills together, and that was the only moment when he truly felt happy. And then the day of the great tournament came, and Carol finally really won against a high-ranking opponent. But that victory turned into a nightmare because it was the first time he took someone's life. He tried to do the right thing. He went to the family of the victim, though he was torn apart by guilt. It was then that he overheard a conversation. The match was rigged because his father bribed officials to make his incapable son look good. Realizing that his victory was just a pay-to-win scam, he shut himself off and began studying forbidden knowledge. He fell into despair and started digging through truly dark magical books for power. Later, he reached the Hill of the Departed and met the undead knight. The knight offered him immense power, but it came at a heavy price. Coco horrifiedly realizes that he was about to sacrifice their entire family to repay that debt. Worse still, the night dead, the subordinates are already camped right near the manor, waiting to turn everyone into zombies. Kurao decides that humanity is over and rushes forward to stab Coco as his last victim. Ryoichi rushes forward like an absolute monster and takes a hard blade strike to the chest to save her. Corral says there is no way back, but Ryoichi exposes his lie, reminding that he secretly wanted to protect Coco from the start. Ryoichi says, as soon as he spills his sister's blood, that will be the only true point of no return. Bleeding, our guy still does not retreat, stands firm to protect Coco from her own brother. The fight rages on the mansion's rooftops. Masato barely holds on, and the spectators can't understand how some amateur from the mainland manages against Beastman Pro. Sparks fly as their blades clash in a strike and flash like lightning with a steel gleam. Our guy takes a hard hit but manages to stay on his feet. His allies shout for him to retreat, because one clean defeat of an instant skill in a moment and the game is over. Ryoichi does not give up and holds in the fight thanks to his god-tier regeneration. He activates a giant cooldown and summons several clones to surround the enemy from all sides. Karo was caught off guard when a sudden numerous defeat appeared. The clones unleash a devastating gust of wind magic, leveling the yard to the ground. And Kurao unfolds without unnecessary problems and rushes onto the roof to regroup. He uses his phantom blade to completely nullify the enemy magic flying at him. The Beastman is actually impressed and decides not to hold back anymore. Corral shows that he also knows how to play the clone game and creates his own shadow squad. Ryoichi is sweating profusely when he sees his own stratagem used against him. The real Korra tears through the chaos with insane speed. He lures Ryoichi with an afterimage and delivers a brutal blow right to his back. The girls can only watch in horror as their hero is cut in half. Mikagni is itching to jump into the fight, but the knight stops her so she doesn't ruin the duel. Carol keeps the pressure at maximum and doesn't give Ryoichi a single second to rest. He realizes that the clones are physical and begins methodically destroying them. Its total annihilation, clones are knocked out one by one. Carol finds the real body and delivers another heavy blow. Our guy tries to use wind magic to gain distance. Carol catches him in the air and with one clean slash cuts off his leg. Ryoichi hits hard and tries to force regeneration to activate. Korek looms over him like a final boss and says that his mysterious master will be satisfied. Ryoichi demands an answer. Who the hell is this god and who do they think he should be? This shadowy figure seems to have come to take revenge on the gods themselves. Their ultimate goal is to remake the world, starting with House Geberdius. Ryoichi shouted that this is a pure demon lord. He catches Corral off guard with a sudden kick from the ground. Corral shudders when he sees Ryoichi's leg has already fully regrown. Our guy lands a precise counter and declares that his power is a true gift of the gods. He charges the final blow to put an end to this fight once and for all. Suddenly, Ryoichi freezes in place. A blade grows from his chest. The phantom blade Sasafoon pierced through his heart. Kuro used telekinesis to control the blade at a distance and arranged a sneak attack. He says that no resurrection will save from a life-threatening hit. Ryoichi hit the ground and the light in his eyes began to fade. The girls are completely shattered when they see him fall. In the whirl of chaos, Mia and Moya disappear from the sidelines. Maki's face turns cold as soon as she looks at her fallen master. The Night Lady regrets not intervening when she had the chance. Carol prepares to take Ryoichi's head so he can be resurrected as an undead thrall. But he suddenly stopped and fixed his gaze on two small figures. Mia and Moya step forward and stand between the killer and their brother. The entire crowd freezes at the courage of these two little sisters. Carol warns them if they don't move, he will have no problem cutting down the children. But the girls and their familiars are no longer under protection, they are ready to fight. Kurao rushes forward to finish the job, but the younger sisters don't let him take a single step. Suddenly, a giant wave of wind pressure stops him in the middle of the sprint. Moira and I cast a powerful AoE magic to push the villain back. Karo is drenched in sweat because these children radiate pure raw power. Lily realizes the girls have connected to something ancient and deadly cruel. They have officially activated Spirit-Human Unity Flowers Grow, as if freshly boosted by a legendary buff. Lilia explains that this is the peak form for any spirit user. Hearts are in complete synchronization. Mia looks him straight in the eyes and commands, just disappear. He is covered by a hurricane, they shoot it at him and fragments fly everywhere. Karo is not the one who goes out to warm up. He cuts right through the gale with the Sasafune saber. He understands that they have glass cannons with no combat experience, and tears straight into the throat. The girls shout that they will protect Ryoichi Ne at any cost. As soon as Corral rushed forward, Coco jumped up to intercept the blow from her own brother. He tells her to get away if she values her life, but she does not back down. Coco tells him to prepare while she herself prepares to put an end to the family feud. Their blades clash and a furious exchange of blows sparks rain down like hail. She is ready to take responsibility for his crimes even if she has to kill him. Suddenly Ryoichi stands up and orders her to stop. Everyone goes crazy because that boy was literally stabbed right in the heart. It turned out his chest became the spirit gate, and the blade just slid into the spirit realm without touching any organ. Lily starts mocking him for fainting from shock over this whole story. Ryoichi looks Kurao in the eyes and asks if he doesn't care about his own sister. Karo bets even more on the role of a ruthless massacre warrior, but Ryoichi doesn't buy this act. He swears to give Karo a good beating and bring him back for Coco. They clash again. The blow is simply colossal. Ryoichi realizes he won't win the fight with tricks alone, so he must break into close combat. Kurao has been upgraded. He became bigger and faster, so every exchange of blows turns into a survival game. Kura notices that Ryoichi is getting stronger in real time and decides to stop the fight. He delivers a heavy kick and prepares for his ultimate secret technique. He unleashes Shiden Renzen Renjezu, a whirlwind of deadly cuts. The entire space is turned to dust, and Coco screams as the dust settles over the ruins. Corral thinks he has finally seized victory. And from the ruins rose a gigantic explosion of wind magic. Karo is stunned. The pressure is now even higher than before. The sisters finally understand. Ryoichi has reached the same form as they have. The time of unity between spirit and human begins, and Ryoichi looks like a true boss. He moves with such insane speed that he almost blurs into a smear. Ryoichi felt energy surge into him like a wave, as if he had just drunk 10 elixirs. Karo tries to go all in, but Ryoichi is already on top. He struck with such a devastating blow that Carol choked on blood and began coughing. Karab can no longer even track the speed of movement. Ryoichi completely disarms him, snatches the legendary sword Sasafune right out of the air. There, with one last strike, the battle is decided. Moonlight falls on the ruined mansion until the dust finally disperses. Ryoichi stands over the fallen opponent, exhausted to the limit. The Quran demands to know why he is spared after all he has done. He is pinned under the debris and he awaits the end. Ryoichi admits that he saw Karai hesitate before wounding Coco, and this proves that there is still a drop of humanity left in him. He reaches back with the cursed blade, and Kura thinks this is a move for a complete idiot. Desperate to rid himself of his own shame, Carol raises a dagger to end his life. Coco lunged forward and snatched the blade from him, striking so that it flew out of his hand. She yells at him for being a selfish coward and orders him to atone for his guilt simply to live. She reminds him no matter what happens, he is still her brother. Carol finally tears off the mask and admits he cannot force himself to hurt her again. Under the full moon, he finally admits his complete defeat. Carol was officially thrown into the trash. He is behind bars after his colossal betrayal. The Hebertius family is now up to their ears in a meeting deciding whether it would be easier to erase his character for attempting to kill the entire guild. And it's not about life under torture, Coco. She begged for exile because she believed that it was the meritocratic system that broke him. Even the old man is trembling with strong emotions. He realized Kurao's insane swordsmanship grew from pure obsessive passion. The atmosphere is tense. The kingdom of the dead is still lurking nearby, and the family needs to fortify the estate before the undead onslaught. Somewhere along all the approaches stand guards so that no more trash mobs slip through the gate. Fortunately, on site is a rank adventurer, Lord Orion Bark. He helps hold the defense. While everyone is celebrating, our guy Ryoichi notices. The body of the tall monk has completely disappeared, dissolved without a trace. The A-ranker goes on patrol, keeping in mind that those undead ninjas usually just turn into mist as soon as they are taken down. It turned out her intuition was broken because that tall monk-like villain is still alive, hiding in a tree like a frostbitten camper. He understands that the mission has failed and orders to extract his team because the heroes are on alert. He is disappointed that Carol couldn't even finish the job, so he decides, this land is no longer worth all this exhausting work. The undead retreat into the shadows and call the whole plan a petty failure. Turning back home, Malo struggles with a severe sugar shortage. Ryoichi and the girls are stuck in a coma. Trance magic imposes a huge debuff on the body. Almost sneaked into a kiss with the future wife's alarm clock while her mana is at 0. And the nurse droid is a real sadist. Hits Malo with a taser for trying to poison the master with foreign impurities. Good morning, and Milo is still waiting for his sugar dose. The culinary expert is still unconscious. She is so desperate that she tries to consume a century-old field ration. It tastes like pure crap. Meanwhile, the family learns. The Supreme Monk is definitely immortal of a special higher category and has already left the island. Kurao still refuses to speak in his cell, but his mother prays that he finally gets a redemption arc. The father decides the family needs to strengthen ties so they are not divided and conquered again. Ryoichi finally opens his eyes and sees that Malo is lying on the floor unfolded by that bad ration. She is delirious about sweets, so Ryoichi bursts into the kitchen to pull the team out. He quickly whips up traditional ashiroko, and the girls look like they just pulled a 5-star unit. They are practically dancing from that mochi and from the perfect level of sweetness. The Fox brothers appear and ignite a huge debate about whether it is ashiruko or zenzai, depending on how coarsely the beans are chopped. Ryoichi has to drop some lore and explain. The names change depending on which region of Japan you are in. The brothers take one bite and immediately understand. This is top-tier food. The secret ingredient is soy sauce, and just the smell draws the attention of everyone in the room. They are so excited that they want to immediately start a business empire selling all of this. Even the parents are impressed by Ryoichi's kitchen statistics. Mom doesn't waste a second and directly asks when the wedding is happening. Coco is sweating and blushing heavily, but Mom is already convinced Ryoichi is the perfect man for her. Dad is so fired up that he wants to open a new martial arts school together with his son-in-law. He even passes down the family legendary treasure sword Hauga. This is a huge loot drop that the family usually doesn't even see, let alone own. Ryoichi tries to refuse the gift, but Coco says that he is assigned to fight high-level bosses. Suddenly, the goodwill ambassador named Sujitani-sama arrives riding a horse. He brings grave news. The undead plan a full-scale military invasion of other countries. They want to offer Karo a deal to admit guilt in order to get more information about the spawn point of enemy squads. Kurao steps out and reveals a terrible secret. Half of his body has already turned into undead. He explains if he is executed normally, he will simply become a mindless puppet for the king of the undead. He actually wants to return to his family now, because from the cell he could hear their voices with his enhanced undead hearing. He tore his heart from the darkness even if he has to sit in prison forever. Coco was simply happy that her brother was back in the family. Kurao tells Ryoichi to take care of his sister before he sets off to accept this deal. The ambassador asks which country will be targeted next. Malo is still carefree enjoying his candies. But the mood instantly darkens as we learn. The undead are marching straight to the homeland of the elves, to the kingdom of Centria Sylvan. The party docks at the port of Eiku Island to prepare for the next stage of their journey. Looking at the universal map, they realized their goal is the Centria Sylvan kingdom, and it is a terrible crossing from where they are now. The team understands that to reach the northeastern part of Karasly Herschestva, they still have a long way to go. Malo completely lost control from joy. She thinks that Ryoichi is returning home to officially marry her. She tries to stay calm, explaining that her kingdom is a natural fortress, protected by a sacred forest and elite elven warriors. A local merchant tells our guy to rest and let his exhausted body recover before moving on. Later that night, Milo was caught off guard. She stands on the ship's deck and immerses herself in her own feelings. Mike immediately detects a leak and starts waterworks, but Malo desperately begs the android not to snitch on her for crying. Malo decides to tell the legend of a hero named Dorado, who once saved the Elven Kingdom. She was obsessively in love with his story since childhood, and even conducted her own historical research about him. Mike in blunt force means that Malo's talk about Ryoichi is pure passion. He just resembles her hero. Malo admits the real problem is how exactly the hero's story will end. She tries to brush it off, saying it's a fake story later concocted by historians who are hostile to everything. The ship finally enters Cook Report under the morning sun. It's time for the party to part ways with the merchants while they head to the capital. They check the map once more, planning to strike the city of Randall before moving north. The carriage ride is long, and Malo says she nearly fainted before receiving a divine hint. They finally reach the gates of Randall, a city that looks simply gigantic. It's noisy and lively here, but a gigantic temple rises above the city and everyone sees it. Malo explains that this is the Temple of Savath, the highest deity in the world. The temple's architecture is simply legendary. Mahalo tells the group that they need to pray here to show respect, and she wants to receive a blessing from the god who rules all magic. When they kneel, the priest calls for God's blessings to fall upon them. Suddenly, the entire squad is covered by a gigantic reinforcement, something that happens only once in a century. Even Mikan receives a divine gift for non-humans. This is practically unheard of. The high priest approaches them and says that this can only be the work of the Almighty God. Priest Michael Sama reveals, the supreme god Sevath has actually appeared and is waiting for them. He leads the shocked group to the inner sanctuary, where the light stings the eyes. Our guy enters and finds the entire pantheon of gods in the room, calmly resting. So stunned that she falls to the floor with a full-fledged kowtow. Sevas tells Ryoichi to relax, because as a trans traveler he is almost a friend of the gods. The girls freeze in shock when they learn that Ryoichi is a trans migrant from another world. Siva says he is revealing the secret because the party is trusted. Ryoichi actually breathes a sigh of relief, no longer needing to hide his origins. The goddess begins to pour out heavy information about Dorado, another transmigrant from 500 years ago. Dorado suffered a tragic defeat, ultimately destroyed his own kingdom, and took his own life. But he did not remain dead. He resurrected as the king of the undead and built a new monster state. Now his undead nation has set its sights on the Elven kingdom. Secretly, he transforms key figures into undead to increase his power. Due to divine rules, gods can directly intervene in the actions of the settler. Thus, Sivath assigns Ryoichi the task to defeat King Dorado and stop his furious rampage. Ryoichi sweats profusely. His opponent is immortal and has 5 centuries of combat experience. Seventh points out that Ryoichi's divine adaptation makes him the perfect counter to the king's curse. In such a short time, he has gained much more power than he himself realizes. If they wait a little longer, Dorado will become impossible to stop. Ryoichi freezes, focuses, and accepts the mission to protect the home of his friends. When the gods disappear, Ryoichi is left alone. The pressure drains all his strength to the last drop. Malo begins to hiccup eagerly and lists all the top gods who were just standing before them. Suddenly, the water goddess Undile appears again to greet her dear priestess. As a reward for her hard work, Undile gives Malo a special gift. Malo receives a legendary ring, and from the crazy hustle, her brain completely fails. Next, Yosk, the god of woodcutters, takes Ryoichi aside for a talk. He has been watching from the very beginning and says that Ryoichi once played with a basic axe. He jokes that our guy will need an axe sword for high-level battles ahead. Sylphina, the wind god, suddenly appears, and Lily the spirit is terrified of the big boss. Other gods watch from the side. They are curious why everyone is so fixated on the reincarnator. Returning to the inn, Ryoichi felt. The divine meeting turned his soul inside out as if it was about to break free from his body. It's time for dinner, but Mello is nowhere to be seen. Chizui rereads the news and suddenly realizes the fact that Ryoichi is a transmigrant really explains a lot. The girls joke that the boys are from another world, probably having a hidden passive charm. Ryoichi decides to go out at night to search for Malo. Our guy finds Malo and tries to calm her down after a hard, tense day. He solemnly vows that he will not retreat and will protect her homeland at any cost. Meanwhile, in the eerie fortress, the atmosphere is even darker. The undead knight named Dylan apologizes to his king for failing to recruit the swordsman from Kakanatsu. King Dorado sits on his throne and strangely admires. His skill of subjugation did not break the target. The king is not worried about morale. He says his victims will eventually start worshipping him anyway. He has ended the secrets and is preparing to declare full-scale war. He insists that his kingdom is a paradise for those who are persecuted in life. He brushes off the idea that he is an exploitative leader and calls his kingdom a zombie company. The first target for destruction becomes the Elven kingdom. As soon as the world is conquered, King Dorado plans to take the fight against the gods right into their territory. The team is preparing for the difficult journey to the sacred mountain. The chariot has already been prepared and is kept ready for the long road. Ryoichi learns that the mountain Yorai is guarded by the swordsman, Saint Makanata. It seems that becoming a sword saint is the highest peak for any blade user in this world. Ryoichi feels the pressure while holding the legendary sword Gyaga, because he still considers himself a complete novice. Carrie quickly puts this down, telling him that his growth rate is simply insane. Ryoichi knows this is due to his 10x XP boost, but Coco is actually trembling. She is unbearably frustrated with her own power level. She drops a bomb in the group, asking for time to go level up her stats. The carriage rolls out without her. Little Mo is completely broken and begins to sob loudly. Her rival has disappeared. Mia tries to hold it together, promising that Coco will return much stronger. Coco watches as they disappear into the distance. She stands completely alone. She is trembling. If she loses to the king of the dead, she will simply become another monster. She will not allow another tragedy to happen like the one that happened to her brother, Kuro. Our girl takes the focus and begins a long ascent upwards to receive the blessing of the sword god. Meanwhile, the rest of the party finally reaches the capital. Welcome to Rias, the vast capital of the centrist woodland nation. Despite the war looming, it is unexpectedly peaceful here. Musicians play right on the streets. Malo is simply relieved to see that her home is not yet in flames and immediately begins to think with her gut. They find a place that serves genuine first-class trophies in the form of a banquet. Ryoichi enjoys the local flavors, while Malo practically devours the food non-stop. She said she used to come here to stress eat when her mentor, the high priest, became scary. She is shaking. She fears that for all her past antics she will be punished, for example, when she drooled on magic books. Suddenly, a voice calls Malo from the other end of the room. This is the high priestess Torka herself, and Malo looks as if she has seen a ghost. Torka sincerely rejoices that Malo has not starved to death during her pilgrimage. It turns out the High Priestess is just as gluttonous. She burns all her calories using high-level magic. She introduces herself to the group while Malo tries to stay unnoticed. Torka cannot take her eyes off Ryoichi, no matter how hard she tries. She says he has a warm, friendly, and gentle aura like someone from her past. Malo does not accept this and says to her, "Can you please refrain from flirting with my beloved?" Ryoichi frantically waves off these relations in panic, and Torka is simply shocked that Malo is even interested in boys. Torka looks like pure cuteness, and this is a real relief for the team. She asks if they have seen any commotion in the town of Randall. Torka sees the whole temple is buzzing because the gods have appeared and granted divine revelations. Malo trembles slightly from tension and sweats profusely before showing Torka the ring of purity she received. Torka is simply stunned. In her 500 years, she has been shocked like this only twice. Ryoichi does not believe that she is actually immortal, but Malo explains. High elves simply do not age like everyone else. Torka is a little ashamed of her appearance, but says that her sister tragically died a century ago. Then she throws a heavy question and asks Ryoichi if his homeland is called Nihon. Ryoichi is stunned she knows about Japan. Torka confesses. In fact, she was the assistant of the legendary hero Dorado, and he also came from Japan. The whole party is stunned by the lore drop. From afar, the city looks quiet, but the secrets grow heavier. Ryoichi understands. Torka must know that hero Dorado eventually became the king of the undead. He is unclear why she is so gentle with him if he reminds her of the man who turned into a nightmare. Malo decides that it is time to check the native village, while Torka sets off to report the undead invasion to the king. They are heading to Morris Village, a key defensive point near the border. The village is hidden in the forest and looks like a classic fantasy starting town. The local elves immediately recognize Malo and start showering her with treats. The elf woman who looks like a sister is actually Malo's grandmother. The entire hamlet gathers together to welcome the younger ones. Carrie is still admiring herself until Mia clarifies. That sweet phrase was for children. Ryoichi notices, although everyone looks young, they carry a heavy elderly aura. Malo warns him, do not underestimate them, they are all experienced warriors. Then Malo's father appears Pero. He looks like a real boss with a huge axe. Malo introduces Ryoichi as a person very dear to her. The parrot remains calm and offers them a place to spend the night. He asked Ryoichi to come to him for a private conversation. Mia hears serious, dangerous signals rising in the air as the boys move further. Returning to the mountain, Coco fights for her life against a pack of garbage monsters. She is exhausted and bloodied but does not stop. She finally reaches the Torii Gate at the summit. The disguised servants announce that the new apprentice has finally arrived. The sword Saint Makanata awaits her inside the temple. Makanata feels Coco's burning desire to reach the top and tells her to show me what she is capable of. The entire squad equip themselves to endure this literally graveyard shift. Returning to Tree City, everyone gathered over the war map. The plan is simple, don't let their rotten brains through the gate. Malo flexes her new ring of purity essentially, a holy boost for the team. The elven brothers are ready to rush out in a blaze of glory, but Mello can't handle it. She warns them, if they fall, they will simply replenish the enemy's combat roster as recruits. Our guy Ryoichi approaches with very serious heavyweights, such as the A-rank legend Catherine. Even the support in gathering Mia, Moya, and Misika join the clash. Ryoichi gave Misika a name and she treats him as if she just pulled a 5-star unit. She is ready to defend the rear while the heavy artillery moves forward. The scout notices movement and the feeling immediately turns sharply bad. The nightly wall attacks literally an ocean of shrouded undead advancing on the fortress. The commander signals the long-range units to start firing. It's a rain of magic and arrows that looks like a real total bullet hell. The mobs are pure tanks. They push through explosions and do not flinch for a moment. They start throwing ladders to break through the walls. As soon as Ryoichi and Catherine reach the top, they immediately began growing creatures from the trash. The elven army actually holds firm in close-range fierce clashes. Zombies rise again and again, and Ryoichi is already starting to feel ground down by this routine. He hates that they still look human, every strike feels somewhat cursed. The little brother Malo Thuron rushes in to help. He appears to stand in tandem with the defense. He tells Ryoichi to step back and rest while the priestess tends to the healing. The first wave is cleared, but the boss hears. The real raid is just beginning. A gigantic silhouette emerges from the fog. It is literally an undead dragon, and it is many times larger than the one they took down earlier. This is the dragon's father from Melsar Island, and he is seeking true vengeance. The beast ignores the fortress and flies straight to the capital. It heads to Rias, to the very heart of the kingdom. The capital was built right inside the gigantic world tree. It looks like a pure final hub for the endgame. The dragon dives forward to finish off. She charges a breath attack that will wipe out the entire area. Boom! A huge barrier of hexagonal mesh emerges just in time. Princess Torka and the High Priest sweat profusely to keep the shield active. Suddenly, a skeletal knight named Dylan lands on the dragon's head. He is a former hero twisted by darkness, and now he is slowly disgracing the princess. Dylan laughs and says, "The shield is pointless if it is already broken from the inside." Suddenly, the temple guards attack the priests. They had been undead in disguise all along. The barrier begins to crack, and the priests are brutally slaughtered. The dragon opens its jaws wide and fires a precise point-blank shot. Suddenly, a huge blade cuts through the dragon's neck. The dragon falls heavily into a fountain of black blood. And this is Grand General Gustav from the Royal Army finally appeared to do his job. Dylan is not worried about reinforcements at all. He claims to have a trump card that will make the entire army surrender and lay down their arms. Returning to the fortress, negotiations begin to buzz. The connection suddenly jerks. It's Kirika and she is crying, calling for help. Help! During tea time in the capital, the guard betrayed the noble children and captured them. Now Karika, the prince, and the rest of the princesses are locked in the dungeon as the enemy's last leverage. The princesses are locked in cages like ordinary trophy drops. This undead commander flexes his muscles and boldly declares to the royal army that he holds power over life and death over the nobility. He insists that the campaigns to exterminate the undead in the kingdom make this total war inevitable. He was never destined for peace, only a bloody meat grinder until death. Since the undead always resurrect anyway, he sees the princesses only as expendable goods. The general simply goes mad from disrespect, while small weights lie in her cell. In the dungeon, locked in the prison, Kirika tries to stay cheerful and tells Prince Karatoros that Ryoichi will definitely manage and get them out. Princess Small squeezes the music box, finding a crumb of courage in Ryoichi's kind intonation through the recording. Suddenly, a terrifying high-level necromancer undead appears to steal her magical instrument. Kuriko refuses to give up her treasure, and Ryoichi hears everything happening directly through his. Mishika immediately aims at his location. The target is the upper floor of Old Dorado Castle, a huge fortress of the dead. Ryoichi does not wait for reinforcements and decides to go on a raid alone. The guards try to pull aggro, but our guy moves too fast he can't react in time. He jumps into the air without any hesitation. One clean strike and the giant skeleton instantly collapses. His allies go crazy. He takes out these mobs as if they were nothing. As if his characteristics automatically adjust to any opponent he encounters. In one shot, he cuts through an entire squad of guards. Beast-type undead tries to flank him, but is too slow. It doesn't catch up to him. Makika provides long-range support, fires an electromagnetic rod and snipes the second wave. And also Ryoichi uses wind spirit magic to create real platforms in the sky. Now the knights are questioning whether he is even human. He almost flies to the castle like a character with a cheat code. Returning to the base, Malloy feels guilty. He still couldn't stop that crazy rush of his. She asks her father for a warhorse to break into the battle. She heads straight to the capital, Rise, despite the threat of the dragon. She saw the destruction with her own eyes and won't allow anyone to suffer the same way again. Her father tries to send her to the bench for her own safety, but she is determined. Carrie-san steps forward as her bodyguard and came empty-handed. She has a fiery spirit named Willius, ready for battle. And she even forcibly imposed a contract on Krakenshin, the water spirit from that pirate fight. This spirit can teleport them anywhere using spatial displacement to places it has been before. Ryoichi finally reaches the necromancer's castle and begins infiltration. He knows if the main force spots him, the mission will fail. He pulls up his hood for stealth action, while Machika keeps the GPS on Kirika turned on. In the dungeon, the mage's shadow looms over the prey, which buries itself in fear. His Kirika corner demands an explanation of how the music box works. He threatens to kill her and resurrect her as a soulless zombie. Before he can strike, Ryoichi flashes in and stabs him in the chest. He breaks Kirika's chains while the mage writhes in agony with a mindless scream. "I am glad that you are safe, Kirika-chen." They quickly find each other in an emotional reunion, but they still need to save others. There are too many soldiers in the corridors. A clean breakthrough won't work. Moreover, the villain mage already has a fast respawn timer and has returned to the fight for the second round. Being a high-ranking undead means his resurrection is almost instantaneous. They are completely surrounded by a wall of blades. Ryoichi picks up Kirika in his arms and carries her in a princess hold. He begins to direct a colossal flow of wind mana. A giant cyclone suddenly rises, uproots and scatters the trash mobs. "We are running away from here." And the final boss of this arena has just smashed the door, flung it open with a swing. This armored tank grumbles angrily over all the noise in his castle. The sorcerer begins to humbly beg, immediately asking his master for forgiveness. The boss looks down from above at the fragile little girl in Ryoichi's arms. He feels something familiar in our boy. He recognizes a Japanese in Ryoichi and warns, if he crosses the line, he will be buried in the dirt again. King Dorado restrains Ryoichi Ishikawa's gaze, recognizing in him another werewolf migrant from another world. Ryoichi calls him by name, but Dorado insists that he threw that identity in the trash long ago. He says the only people who could possibly know his real name are his old members of the adventure team. Now his only goal is to turn every person into a zombie to gather an army that can stand against the gods. Dorado explains, once he was a hero who, after saving her from the Demon King, fell in love with the high elf princess named Senri. They married and built a kingdom together, but the happy ending actually turned out to be a grand trap. Senri was pregnant and just wanted a peaceful world for their child. And Dorado began to hear the whisper of an evil god, saying that a human and a high elf could never have a child. Dorado immediately confronted her and questioned how she could be pregnant. He refused to believe it was a miracle and left, leaving her crying on the floor. The voice belonged to a fierce deity who had previously made a pact with the Demon King, Dorado the one who had already been defeated. This god mocked Dorado, told him that he would always be an outsider in a world created for the god's amusement. Rumors of the queen's betrayal spread throughout the castle, and Dorado began to act coldly distant, indifferent. The nobles did not trust him because he was of a different race, and eventually Dorado caught Senri talking with an elven knight named Dylan. Dylan had served Senri's family since childhood, and Dorado's jealousy reached its limit and boiled over. Senri tried to find him and explained that Dylan was only giving her advice on how to deal with the rumors. She was truly happy and was already planning a huge celebration for the pregnancy. But the evil god pushed Dorado over the edge, shouting that the child belonged to the knight. Dorado jerked sharply and stabbed Senri straight through the chest with his blades. He went into full berserker mode and began leveling the entire castle, while the staff panicked and fled faster than fear could catch up with him. But still standing amid the burning ruins, he finally came to his senses. Dorado stared in horror at his hands, bloodied up to the elbows, and suddenly realized what he had done. He found Senri's body in the rubble and let out such a soul-crushing scream that his heart clenched. He tried to end his life, not knowing whether he was being controlled by someone or if he was simply a monster. He scraped through the debris, barely holding on to his own sanity. He tried to kill himself again, but the wounds healed instantly. Dorado understood he might already truly be undead himself. Suddenly, the people he had killed rose from beneath the ruins and swore eternal loyalty to him. His kingdom became a real graveyard overnight, and he felt nothing but emptiness inside. He ignited a burning desire for revenge against the gods who had taken everything from him. He decided to turn all living beings into undead to kill the gods and rebuild the world. In the present time, Ryoichi cannot believe that such a corrupted divine being really exists. Dorado senses a trace of his former self in Ryoichi and calls him to join his cause. Our boy refuses to sacrifice innocent people, no matter how tragic Dorado's story is. Dorado decides to take him by force, and Ryoichi fires a god-level clone technique to buy himself a few seconds of breathing room. He orders Lily to take Kirikou and the clone to the safe zone. The clone rams through enemies, while Ryoichi stays behind to draw attention to himself. Lily is amazed. The clone can actually hold a conversation. But Ryoichi explains that the blessing of the chief god enhanced its abilities. Dorado is impressed by the skill and says he wants Ryoichi to join him even more. The king rushes forward, tearing through Ryoichi's clones one by one with unstoppable force. Ryoichi is cut, a huge slash runs across his chest. Dorado notices that Ryoichi is using regeneration technique and mocks him, saying he is just like a cold. He gives Ryoichi one last chance, surrender now or die and serve him as a zombie. Ryoichi refuses both options, so Dorado decides it's time to end the fight. Dorado lowers his huge, blade-carved head blade for the finishing strike. The High Priestess is hatching a raid boss inside herself so that the magical barrier does not collapse. Centrius is currently going through a giant DPS check, while the dragon unleashes hellfire on the capital. The elven knights tremble with sweat. The barrier is about to crack like a cheap protective screen. The Priestess of Tauras decides on a desperate step. She prepares a forbidden sealing spell that will take all her life. Their team loses control. Losing the top supporter means the end for the kingdom. The teleport almost instantly throws him there, as if literally sent by a god to disrupt the suicidal performance. She steps through the portal as if she just pulled a secret strategy out of thin air. She insists that her new buff is from the power of love, leaving everyone completely confused. It turns out love was just a huge hunger debuff because her stomach is already screaming, demanding a ration. While she is busy snacking, this audacious undead warrior decides to crash the party to settle an old debt. Torka orders everyone to be on alert. This freak is already ready to fight. The dragon tries to shoot at the team, but a new opponent appears in the sky, falling like a comet. With one clean strike, he literally splits the dragon's skull, then greets the undead knight as if an old rival. Orion Bark is clearly irritated. This guy survived their last clash. The royal army is confused. They are unsettled by the thought of whether this high-level unit is really on their side. This true monster shows that Ryoichi saves princesses, while he himself stays behind to teach these undead freaks a lesson. They collide immediately. The blades move so fast, as if a frequency bug appeared in the frame. The undead knight is amazingly resilient. He takes hits that would have guaranteed his destruction before. He gets goosebumps when compared to a mere beast. He radiates the aura of a true final boss. The sword cuts at maximum. Both sides exchange blows and sparks fly in a continuous hail. But the undead knight catches a lucky crit, piercing our guy through the chest, even grabbing muscles, demonstrating his immortality. Meanwhile, things are very bad in the Castle of the Dead. A massive armored titan towers over the ruins after a complete merciless defeat. King Dorado actually apologizes for overdoing it after turning the floor into a bloody massacre. Ryoichi tries to pull off a clever trick with a clone attack, but Dorado tracks him without any problems. Our guys decided to hold on in the fight at any cost, no matter how many attempts it takes. Dorado immediately pierces two versions of himself together, as if playing Fruit Ninja. Waryuchi thinks he dealt a deadly blow to the king's heart, but he is pressed against a dead wall. Dorado actually enjoys this fight, calling Ryoichi an interesting toy. He goes into the clones and tears their bodies as if they were made of paper. He grabs Ryoichi by the throat and instantly ends the guessing game. He guessed because the legendary sword Ryoichi holds is too high level to replicate. Dorado sends him flying with a punch to the face, one that probably broke all the bones in his body. The blow is colossal. Ryoichi's sword flies aside as he lands on the deck. Ryoichi realizes the gap in strength is too great. Dorado is simply built differently. His vision is dimming, and he can barely manage to summon another clone to stay in the game. Passive regeneration is slowing down, which means he no longer has heals. Dorado looms over him and offers mercy to become an undead slave to escape the pain. Just as he almost finished the work, out of nowhere the shepherd spirit breaks out and lunges forward. The wolf catches Dorado by surprise and sinks into his face, with rage on the edge. Ryoichi recognizes the spirit. Forgive me. He realizes he is not alone. A new ally enters the arena, takes a sword in hand, and prepares to challenge the king. This is Coco Youth Jeopardius, and she has come to restore honor to her family. She braces for a counterattack, and things are about to get very heated. Sari does not waste a single frame as he rushes forward, straight at the king of the undead. Our girl crashes into the fight with steel against the boss, and he realizes she is actually Koroleva's younger sister. He behaves like a completely self-satisfied whale, claiming that his fallen mobs will still react later. Shock waves from their trade simply blow the roof off. The thief boasts that Sari and her squad are just future recruits for his undead army. Today is your death anniversary, she shouts, and her companion the wolf spirit lashes out with aggression. A giant vortex of energy begins to spin over the battlefield. Time for spirit-human unity power-up. She cries out the ancestors' callfangs of the blade howl, lend me your strength. Both fighters prepare for the decisive final. Exchange of blows where the stakes are too high. She actually hits and cuts off the knight's gauntlet just as he takes off, blood splashing over the fountain. So Ori is already threatening to behead further, but the boss just laughs as if he has a hidden phase somewhere. Suddenly the severed hand snatches out of nowhere and clamps her throat, choking her to unconsciousness. Now I've caught you, boasts the knight while Sari convulsively tries to breathe. He threatens to break her neck if she does not drop her armor. With no other choice, she allows the sword to fall to the floor. The knight begins a ritual to turn her into undead, but Sayuri remembers her brother's cursed blade, and he immediately recognizes the legendary Sasafuni. She reveals the curse of the blade. Whoever holds it is doomed to suffer misfortune. I will return this misfortune to you immediately, she shouts and draws a hidden dagger. She releases a point-blank, ultimate technique in current style, a tandem slash. The entire hall explodes with a whirlwind of petals and steel. The king of the undead finally collapses, and Sari rushes there to check on Ryoichi. Our guy is stunned and thinks he is seeing strange things, but she says they need to move. I'm here, she says, giving him at least some of the much-needed warmth. The boss has finally fallen, but they need to evacuate before the dungeon collapses. The entire fortress is literally crumbling around them. Somewhere else, a tremor tears a hole in the prison wall, and the children get a chance to escape. They decide to take the risk, instead of waiting for certain death in their cell. They are illuminated in the neighboring room and try not to make noise. A silent shadow approaches and says that she is also a prisoner. This is Senri, a revenant, the wife of Dorado, and she looks like a key plot twist. The children freeze in shock as a new player enters the field. Senri tells a heavy lore from her past life. She was doomed to disposal until the Lord picked her up. She lived like a queen, in a gilded cage. Servants fulfilled her every whim. The Lord came literally for a moment to rest, keeping everything quiet but calm. He even gave her an expensive ornament, the very one that spun her all the way to the top. But the louder she celebrated, the darker, even black, his aura became. He was not angry at her, but his thirst for revenge against an unknown enemy caused a full-scale war. When the war became bloodier, his rage reached its limit. Senri could not just sit and watch him dissolve in this, so she begged the children to help her break out. Prince Calitros and Princess Small tremble with sweat, because the king is actually a villain who destroyed their lives. Sonori does not care about politics, she wants to save the man she loves from his own hatred. Princess Small understands, she is really in the matter but a company awaited them here. Someone is walking down the corridor forcing everyone to switch to stealth mode. Only Ryoichi and Kirika finally step forward. The meeting turns out to be poignant. Ryoichi receives fame for the large-scale rescue. Princess Small is already reaching for the vibe of a good hero, but the spirit cat does not swallow this. The cat senses strong evil undead impropriety in the room and warns Ryoichi, keep a cool head. Small jumps to disrupt the attack and an explanation that Senri is a pacifist. Ryoichi finds an electronic lock covered by a massive magical barrier. He reveals his pump divine appraisal and breaks the cipher in seconds. Inside, he instantly plants a logic bomb. King Dorado has already folded. Senri is extremely stunned. She thought her master was an immortal raid boss. That persistent disguised junk rascal appears again, not letting himself die peacefully. Suddenly, the whole castle goes into hysteria because an earthquake strikes. Small fragments fall from everywhere as the structure gives way. Ryoichi and the fox girl realize they must immediately evacuate the hostages. A giant blade cuts through the floor like a meteor. This is King Dorado's signature weapon. A man emerges from the ruins and grabs the hilt. He has broken free from the boundary again and feels more powerful than ever. The fox girl goes mad. The undead king has just risen from the dead himself. He decides to stop joking and reveals the true form of the cursed sword. He waves a wave of dark energy and it covers the entire room. Ryoichi and his partner are barely holding on. The dark glow presses so hard that Ryoichi cannot move a muscle. But just as he is almost finishing, Senri steps right into the line of fire. She begs him to drop the sword before it completely rots and destroys his soul. The replacement masked undead tries to whitewash the night for the king attacking the traitor. Dorado does not relent and erases the masked boy from reality for going too far. Princess Small takes a few small steps and releases the music box from her hands. It falls, and a familiar melody begins to play from it. Henry starts singing along to the words about ranks and medals. The melody flies into Dorado like a truck and his bloody intent dissolves. His aura fades when he orders Senri not to stop the concert. But there is a problem, the box is a complete mess and only plays one verse. Ryoichi understands that this is their only chance, and declares that he can fix the magical instrument. They endure a temporary pause while Ryoichi pulls out the repair kit. It is a surreal scene. The hero repairs the toy and the final boss sits and waits. Princess Small says that it is just an old children's counting rhyme from the capital. Ryoichi turns the key and the music flows perfectly. Senri sings the full version, and it triggers a huge memory of when they were alive. She remembers promising to build a kingdom with him. In the memories, she confesses her love to a boy named Shin. Dorado's eyes widen sharply as true memories return one by one. His name is Shin. They share a quiet moment. The tension finally subsides. And the sword suddenly spoke wildly, accusing that Senri is interfering again. The voice calls itself the evil god. The real villain was the cursed saber from the very beginning. The evil god finally shows his face, and damn it, this villain looks completely broken. Torka and the priests bet everything on a giant circle of thermonuclear fusion, but the villain just laughs in response, saying this is a futile skirmish. The temple begins to collapse. The rough pressure from the shattered barrier explodes and shock waves roll everywhere. The general mocks them for having wasted mana on a move that simply fell apart like a bad gotcha twist. But Torka does not give up yet and, gasping for air, shouts that this was not an offensive spell at all. She understands that magic is the power to fulfill true desires and puts her heart into it. Her consciousness briefly returns 500 years back to the very day when everything went awry, and a monster loomed over her. Dylan was ready to throw away his life to buy her time, and ordered her to live on both for him and for Queen Centauri. He had no regrets as long as he could choose where his last battle would be. In the present, Torka shouts holy rain until the sky parts with blinding light. She prays to heal the lost souls, while the light burns and pierces that gigantic undead dragon. The dragon emits a genuine death rattle, and its body begins to melt under the sacred pressure. The knights are confused until they realize the rain actually heals their wounds, not just seals them together. They barely survived the explosion mirror, and the entire team were saved only thanks to Krakenshin's swift spatial teleportation. Even Shin comes out of the trance and starts twitching with thoughts. What the hell has he been doing all this time? Torka pours every last drop of mana and emotion into the spell, tears streaming down her face like a river. Shin feels the rain is like the tears of his lady as he begins to dissolve into the wind. The entire undead army and the dragon vanish from the map like dust without a trace. The priests understood. They won only because Torka's desire was merely an imitation of the legendary magic of Sister Senri. They remember how Senri used forbidden magic, and paid the ultimate price to seal the evil inside Shin. Shin is in shock. The woman he betrayed actually saved his life. But the demonic sword began babbling filth, claiming that it was just biding its time and gathering strength inside him. The sword falls and reveals a colossal lore bomb. The child Shin thought he had killed was actually his own flesh and blood. Shin goes mad, he screams, and when guilt hits him like a truck, he hoarsely shouts, "What was all this for?" In a fit of rage, he tries to smash the sword, but it is far too strong. The sword just laughs, saying that they have merged, and if it falls, Shin will be erased too. The sword decides that the old wielder is done for, and tells Shin to die before focusing its gaze on Ryoichi. Ryoichi does not hesitate and rushes there to draw attention and divert aggression from the dying king. Shin cannot believe it. Our guy is protecting him after all the misery he caused. Ryoichi admits he is incapable of truly hating a compatriot who went through the same struggle in the Isekai. The sword seizes a new opportunity and decides Ryoichi is the perfect new vessel to possess it. Demonic energy suddenly gushes forward, and Sari screams as Ryoichi absorbs the darkness. Dark mana cracks Ryoichi's skin like a shell as possession grips tightly. A new terrible form bursts out of Ryoichi's body and Sari is left in complete shock. The evil god has officially descended and is already ready to have fun with the new toy. He mocks the company, saying that Ryoichi was merely a cracked eggshell for his true essence. Sari refuses to accept this. She shouts that our guys with their restorative abilities will not let him get away with it. She draws her blade and is ready to crash into the banquet no matter how much her rivals outnumber her. The god is just toying with her, mocking that she got so upset over this supposed lover. So Wari runs on her last strength and tries to summon one last spirit unity. The Viper simply boasts in response. The god does not know fatigue and heals instantly from any blow. Shin steps again into the thick of it for the final performance and shouts, "Evil god, I will be your opponent." Senri begs him to stop, while another Ryoichi just calmly sits amid the chaos. The god tries to erase the one who is sitting Ryoichi, deciding that it is just a remnant of some clone. But the attack is completely repelled by a top-level barrier, and the god leans to the side. Utopian gigantic divine artifact appears out of nowhere, and the Spirit of Lies explains that it is not a clone at all. It turns out Ryoichi made a pro-gamer move. He fought with a duplicate all the time while the real one stayed safe. The evil god speaks through his mouth, even he was completely outsmarted by this insidious conspiracy. The real Ryoichi rises with the energy of a master of ceremonies and tells the god. His atrocities make him sick. Suddenly legendary reinforcements connect like a special limited-time bonus to finish the job. Ryoichi activates a secret art that transforms his body into the body of the gods themselves. He rushed forward with all his might, releasing a god-given strike to put an end to this raid. Ryoichi releases a huge wave of energy to push back the darkness. Shin spits blood, mocking the power of the specially created divine artifact. What he calls, supposedly a simple demigod, will never compare to him. They exchange blows at insane speeds, and the battlefield turns into a bloody meat grinder. Shin slices the air with double blades, pure malice. The villain decides to strike at the girls to drive our guy into despair. Ryoichi's accomplices are bustling, setting up a defense while the evil god gains strength. A giant sphere of void energy engulfs everything in its path. Ryoichi expends his last strength and clamps Shin with holy chains. Even when he is torn to pieces, our guy does not release the curse. Suddenly Lily reveals her true nature, a giant legendary tiger. She pins the villain to the ground and gives Ryoichi the very chance from which his move begins to put an end to this. Ryoichi directs his spirit magic into a deadly whirlwind. The strike hits with such force that the very earth beneath them cracks. Shin falls to his knees, the chains finally break from the blow. In fact, he thanks Ryoichi for removing the chains that bound his power. The leader prepares to floor the gas pedal, but a blinding light fills the room. Goddess Sevath descends and tells everyone that Ryoichi did exactly what was needed. She has been chasing this trash mob team for 500 years. Shin tries to look cool, but long imprisonment has completely exhausted him. Seva summons new divine chains, and the villain doesn't even dream of breaking them. Aha, she declares the official execution of the divine sentence. Shin is dragged into the abyss, he screams, as he is finally sealed forever. Now the goddess directs her cold gaze at the distorted hero. She orders Shin to erase his soul for endless sins. Ryoichi cannot stand it when a transmigrant like him is released just like that. He asked permission to finish the job as a warrior, not as a prisoner. Our guy wants an honest duel to settle the score once and for all. Shin honors the prey in sweat and draws his sword for one last round. They clash without any gods for buffs, only pure skill and steel. Even when the body betrays, Shin fights with all he has left. Harem watches as these two enemies find a strange calm in battle. They look more like brothers training together than mortal enemies. Ryoichi delivers the decisive blow, and Shin finally accepts his end. "You are human," says Ryoichi, not letting him die as a monster. Senri holds the dying man as he dissolves into light. The law of equivalence connects, and their souls together reach the underworld. The goddess admits that she was influenced by Ryoichi's kindness. The battle is finally over, and the team can finally breathe normally. Returned to the infirmary, the kids are glowing. Their older brother is about to come home. The remains of the undead suddenly begin to self-destruct without their king. A barely audible voice reaches the High Priestess Torka confirmation of victory. The scene shifts to the huge kingdom of Kale's Lyre. The king officially grants Ryoichi the title Honorary Baron. The younger princess believes that the baronial rank is too low for a true savior. Small explains that if he stays unnoticed, it protects him from the spotlights. She secretly dreams that Ryoichi would be hers alone as a personal vassal. Eventually, the crew returns to the familiar places of Is Village. Seeing the progress of these restoration works makes our guy feel as if nostalgia is overwhelming him. The brothers from the village go crazy as soon as they learn their hero is now their lord. Ryoichi tries to be modest, but the villagers do not believe him. They want him to lead, even if only formally while the boss is handling matters. Nazir and Mari are delighted, their favorite traveler has finally returned. Even their natural hot spring turned the village into a major tourist attraction. Malo is still blushing from the first time Ryoichi saw her there. Several months pass, and Ryoichi is already itching with impatience. A new adventure is needed. He wants to explore the world before he gets caught up in noble drama. The first agenda item is to get a magical airship for the squad. The girls are already fighting over who will get the most attention. Even the little ones are throwing hats into the fight for the bride's spot. Lily reminds everyone that she has already poured out her soul to him twice. Michika jumps out and declares that she has companion functions like AI. Ryoichi is completely overwhelmed by the chaos. When he asks what they even like about him, they can't pick just one thing. "It's your kindness," everyone shouts as the adventure continues. The cart rolls towards the very horizon, time to grab the next big quest.